Welcome to Warcraft Reloaded, a podcast brought to you by Mash Those Buttons, covering World of Warcraft Classic and its community. I am Bobby, also known as Blazin' Bob, and today I'm joined by Ryan, aka Cognitive Pit. How you doing?
Hello, I'm doing very, very well this week. Thank you, Bob. How are you doing?
I'm
Does anyone ever ask how Bob's doing?
Um,
Is this the first time?
Yeah, purposely.
Well, if you must know, I'm tired from playing 20 hours of Warcraft each day for the last 2 days, so pretty tired. But Mel,
Yeah.
aka Melorita, how you doing?
Well, I'm fine. I'm tired. Not for the same reasons Bob's tired. I've just been swamped at work. And I looked at Bob the other day and I was like, hey, thanks so much for not getting on me, because he usually gets on me when I work really late. And he's like, come on, Mel, let's do this. And he's like, yeah, no, it was actually just really good timing. I've just been hanging with everybody doing battlegrounds and, yeah, do your thing. And I'm like, wait a minute. Now now the person that made me get off work is not there anymore, and I worked till 11 o'clock last night, and I was like, okay, Bob, you gotta cut me off at some point here.
Make me come do stuff with you.
Right, make me stop this endless cycle.
Oh, man. Yeah, and also first time to the show, YouTube upcomer extraordinaire, Zerbraxi. Welcome to the show.
That's definitely a bit more than I needed. That's gonna go right to my head. Ego trip is feeling good. Just because they already asked you, so we know the answer. But I feel if no one's asked you how you're doing, outside playing WoW, how are you doing?
Doing good. Doing good.
Good. I felt bad that apparently no one's asked you.
What do you mean by
Feel bad.
playing WoW? I don't.
Oh, touche.
Outside of playing WoW? I'm sorry, is that a thing?
A little sleep
Go
deprived,
outside?
I guess.
Actually go outside? Weird.
Ugh, isn't that like that big thing in the sky? It's really hot.
Yeah.
It's actually been raining here constantly, so it's been a
For
perfect time
literally,
to stay
2 weeks.
inside. Yeah, it's been a good time.
I'm
that sounds nice.
in Colorado, it didn't rain at all. Also, can I tell you guys about Bob's, old man moment? I told him he needed to watch those commercials about how to not turn into your parents, because we went outside and it had been raining for a week and a half, on and off. It was just wet. And I go, my God, it's been wet for literally 2 weeks almost. And he goes, yeah, but we really needed it.
And then
I
it
was
literally, no, you didn't say anything. We literally paused and I go, what the F did I just say? Oh, it was such a I was like, that's what old people say. What the heck just happened? Oh my
Well, now
gosh.
you know. Now you know what happened. You know what to do. Just
Yeah.
And knowing is
Identifying
half the
the
battle.
problem is the first step, Bob.
yeah.
All right, well, let's go ahead and this is going to be a crazy show. We've got so much to talk about. We're going to start out with housekeeping, then we're going to go to the news. We are not going to hit every piece of news. I had to pick and choose, and it still might be too much. We might have to kind of skip over things. I'm not sure how it's going to go. But then after that, we're going to get to know Zerbraxi a little bit better, as we do with all new guests on the show. And that's going to be the show. So strap in. Yep. We had a lot of reviews this week. It was a pretty good one.
Yeah, guys, slow down on the reviews.
No.
Oh,
Come on, Yip.
Sorry.
You're fired.
Yeah, we got a couple good reviews. So the first one got me back into WoW. This is from BMX AB187K. Didn't leave a character name. If you leave a character name, I'll use that. Otherwise, I'll read these Apple IDs. Got me back into WoW. Hey, Warcraft Reloaded cast. Oh my god, he put a character name in. I'm embarrassed. Blocklesnar from White Mane Alliance. Blocklesnar from White Mane
For
Alliance.
the Alliance.
Blocklesnar. For the Alliance. We have a couple of those, I think, today. For the Alliance. You all are great, and I love all the aspects and angels from all your views. And angles from all your views. I guess our views aren't angels. You guys got me back into WoW. Super hyped for TBC. PS, I've listened to every episode in a week at work and while I grind. You guys have an amazing podcast and keep up the good work. And I see you guys in Outlands. Thank you for that wonderful review.
Is there really enough hours in a week to listen to all the episodes?
I was thinking about that. That's tight. They might also be using it to get to sleep. Maybe they're
Or
using it
they're
as
listening at 1.5 speed. I know a lot of podcast listeners do that.
Oh, yeah, true.
Guilty
That
as
would probably
charged.
help. That'll get you through some some of this content.
Maybe they just fast forward through all of our rants. And they're like, okay, yeah, let's move on to hour 2.
For
Yep, there we
anybody
are.
that's never
Oh, but that's so
done
fun.
that, yeah, for anybody that's never done that, try listening at 1.5 and 2.0. Those options are on almost every podcatcher. It's freaking hilarious. And 0.5 is pretty funny too.
Okay,
If you get-
I need to now know what I sound like at 1.5 speed because it's probably
A munchkin.
You
It's
say
weird.
funny, but if you consume a lot of content and you get used to 1.5 and 2x, you can get through so much content so much quicker. Like, you're trying to learn something. 2x speed. People do talk slowly, but so that you can't 1.5x, I'm going faster. Among my favorite all-time podcasts. This is another review. This is a fantastic and informative show for all things classic WoW related, even from the standpoint of a dad gamer who hasn't had any time to raid or do any endgame content. I still love hearing about all these guys' adventures. All right, I'm going to slow down. They have also had some fantastic guests on the show. All around, great job, guys. 9 thumbs up points if you get reference.
Simpsons.
P.S. What?
The reference is from The Simpsons.
Yes. P.S. From the standpoint of a total filthy casual, you guys are absolutely not Kazcore or Kajcore. You world buff and Nax raiders are absolutely hardcore. Please tell Yip not to at me. Smiley face. Thank you, Guess Who I Be, for a great review. However, I will be adding you. And it's not, I think we just need more laid out terms with specific definitions. Somebody make an infographic of what every term means to a raider. Because to me, someone hardcore is a speedrunner they're employing tactics that we've never even tried before. So it's hard
But
for me to
maybe
call
they're
myself
like-
hardcore.
Yeah,
when-
like Duranosaur would be, I would consider like hardcore.
Okay, but maybe they need a new category, right?
Right,
Because we
exactly.
are pretty hardcore, but they need like a new identifier as like
We're
Right, it
sweaty
might not be that
casuals.
we're casual core.
uber crazy hardcore. Like, let's come up with a good name for them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Fair.
what-
Do you put like the top 100 guilds in the same category as the top 5 guilds?
No,
That's
not
a
at
very
all.
that's
Yeah.
a very big difference, right?
Yeah.
It's enormous.
But they're all like, I guess, hardcore. I don't know. Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
I'll come
it's
up.
like-
I'll come up with a dictionary for everybody.
Yeah, could you?
And if
come
people
up
don't
with
like it, then
something?
no.
No. Listen, it's
Well, then
got to
That'd
be
be a
on
good
Instagram.
video.
Right.
Yeah, it'd be a good
We'll
video.
spread it on Pinterest. Everyone pin it to their pin boards.
I gotta make
and then
pictures now.
And finally, we have one from Mailman Joseph, tied with Countdown, which is an amazing compliment. We love Countdown here, of course. Hey guys, I'm an altaholic, 60 rogue, 60 hunter, and 3 other tunes in their 40s that I'm trying frantically to level to 60 before June 1st. From PvE server Ashkandi. Been listening to you guys since shortly before Nax came out. Love the podcast and the back and forth between the 3 of you and your guests. You guys are neck and neck with Countdown for my favorite podcast. Maybe if you tossed in some more F-bombs here or there, you'd pull ahead. Thanks for what y'all do, and keep up the great content for the Alliance! No.
I don't know that we
Is
could
there any
ever.
alliance identity? Is there an alliance identity going into Outlands? Like, who would say for the Alliance as we go into Outlands? Who's the lead commander of our expedition coming up in TBC?
Guys, I
Ooh.
don't know, but I feel like we have had a lot more alliance support lately than we have in the past.
I know everyone's coming out of the woodworks.
You need to. Everyone's like already just accepting that Horde has an advantage in so many cases that like the people who are Alliance are like, we need to rally this around.
band together.
Yeah. Like we are one unit. If we don't move as one unit, we're done. We're taken out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, as far as the F bombs go, I mean, Yip threw, I think, his first one in last week.
I did.
So,
I
I did
Over
mute it
the-
out of the podcast.
Over the 30, you muted my F-bomb.
Well, it was a beep,
You tell our guests we're allowed to
Censored.
swear, and then I
Yeah.
throw one out, and it's censored.
Well,
They
I
were
do
trying to
censor
charge
them
us
all.
$35 for a character copy. I had to throw out an F-bomb for it, but thank you so much for your review.
Yes, thank you.
Is Varian Rin back? Did we find him in the sewer and bring him back? Is he back in TBC? Anyone? Any?
I don't
Wait,
know.
who?
No,
Varian
think he-
Rin, the king of Stormwind or whatever, the leader of the Alliance.
He comes back in Wrath, I think.
Is it Wrath? Okay.
Yeah, and like so. All right, lore nerd moment though, but Terralion should be the guy, but he never shows up in TBC.
Well, he's missing, right? He's missing in Outland currently.
Is this our lore moment? Is this what we're talking about right now?
Well, someone asked for the Alliance comment. I had to.
I'm just asking.
Or the Alliance.
I'm just like, wait, I don't know anything about what you're saying right now.
Me neither, but I was just like, I was just enjoying.
Well,
no, I'm not saying stop. I was just clarifying so I could.
Well, it's just for the Alliance. My original is based on Anduin, who is our current little child leader, but maybe I don't know. I thought I'd mix it up, but instead I just screeched for the Alliance. So thanks again for everyone for your reviews. Keep them coming. We love them. Bob makes me read them, so that's always fun. I don't have to think about. I just get to read. I get airtime, and I don't even have to think about a point. I just get to read, so it's perfect for me.
The only airtime you're allowed.
Yep, and it's perfect for me too because I can't read, so it helps out. You know, it helps out in all the categories. Tied with Countdown. That's a huge compliment. I don't think I can agree because I love Countdown. It's probably my favorite. So. But I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
I did listen to it after we saw this review, and I was like, there are a lot of F-bombs.
Oh yeah, there's no way we're catching up with Josh on the F-bombs. It's not humanly possible. Oh man. All right, so we're gonna do what have we been doing in WoW lately, but not really specifics, just like what we've been doing, because there's gonna be a lot of specifics when talking about the different pieces of news and stuff. So what I've been doing is BGs, and more BGs. And then yesterday I ran people through quests. What have you guys been doing?
BGs. I have been boosting people and I'm finally repaying my my guild for doing 40 extra molten cores for me to not get my binding. So we're boosting shamans, we're leveling people, helping out the new people who are joining the guild as well too. We got a lot of friends who are coming in for TBC, so been leveling, getting professions up, and then BGs.
And Mel's been working. She's had some craziness at her job, so she's literally been working throughout like 14, 15-hour days. So I know she hasn't been able to do anything. She's going to get to play tonight, which is exciting, but we'll go ahead and skip her and move it on to Zerbraxi.
Oh, I wish I had an interesting thing of what I've been doing, but not really. I've pretty much been leveling because I am really, really far behind. I am re-rolling to Shaman for TBC, and I forgot during the last like 3 or 4 months to actually level this character. Yeah. So I'm now in this state where I'm also trying to like make stuff, and I haven't been playing. So
I mean, you can buy the boost.
I'm like so close. I'm so close.
Yeah,
I'm like 53 right now or 52. Like I'm just so close.
Yeah,
you've had months to level a shaman.
Yeah, I know, but
can't be Alliance.
No,
that's what.
Spoiler.
What I thought. I was like, wait, you couldn't have leveled a shaman before the other day, and then I was like, oh.
You didn't get the creator patch? We got the early creator patch. Yeah. But that's literally been it. I would love to enjoy the BG race right now, but it's just not happening.
Procrastinated.
Yeah, well,
it's been this weird dynamic. The more I do about WoW, the less I play WoW. It's a really weird dynamic. It's become a bit problematic. So I play on stream. That's pretty much been it, actually.
Yeah, I end up doing tons of research and crap while I'm just in Discord with the guild, standing in Stormwind, and then just researching stuff constantly. Like that's what I end up doing for like half of the week. But I've gotten to play quite a bit. So.
Can I talk about my week? Huge shout out to Kim.
Oh, okay.
Kim sent me a pre-spec for 60 leveling dungeons. And I was like, you have no idea how helpful this is because I have not had any time to figure out like what the best spec is to go when we're leveling in dungeons. And he just sent it to me and he's a wonderful person and I love him.
Yep, he definitely is. He's done all kinds of stuff. Sometimes I can't understand fully the spreadsheets that he makes, but I try. I try. All right, well, let's move into the news. So first off, we got to talk about it. WoW, during the pre-patch maintenance got pushed and pushed and pushed, finally came up at like 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. There were a lot of people really mad. Coming from an IT standpoint, I've worked in IT, I've done a ton of email and Active Directory migrations. These things can mess up super easy with database transfers. People were making jokes about they were rushing it. Like, if there's bugs in the game, you can put that at rushing it. I think literally this was just an IT problem that happened, and these poor guys worked a 15 to 18 hour day. And so my heart goes out to them. But how do you guys feel about this maintenance? Was it rough for you?
Well, we had someone in the guild actually mention what the problem might have been, and then Blizzard sort of confirmed it later, which I thought was interesting. Someone who we have who works in IT was, when the first delay happened, they were like, it's probably the mail they're copying from from vanilla over to the classic era servers. It's probably just taking way longer than they would have expected. And it's unfortunate and it stings, but it's absolutely, I don't think it's Blizzard's fault. Like, I don't think that they were purposefully making this take longer. I don't think they wanted to work until midnight on their time in order to get this out for us. It's awful because the patch literally did not drop May 18th, right? It came out the 19th, even in Blizzard's time zone, but not of something like, I don't know. I don't think it was an issue where they were, messing up on purpose. This is like an unprecedented thing they're trying to do. They had to shut the auction house down for multiple days. To me, shutting down the auction house for 4 days is crazier than an extended maintenance. That, like, you kind of should have expected there to be an extended maintenance. It, of course, went way too long, and I was one of those psychos who was up at 4 a.m. when it like launched, and I was there, and it stunk, and a lot of people's plans were ruined. But if you make plans on patch day or you make plans on TBC launch day, you have to have some expectation that they're going to be dashed.
And I think a lot of people were like, how could this happen? They're re-releasing a patch that they've already released. Like, come on, this is ridiculous. And I think they didn't take into account the fact that they are doing character copies, and they're doing a lot of things that if it effed up, there's my F-bomb, if it effed up in that process, you would not be able to go back from there, right? If you don't snapshot every single person at that very point in time, then you're open to all of these random things happening and just way more, distrust and everything down the road. So I do think that the extended maintenance was likely just, okay, let's make sure this is correct. This is taking longer than we thought, but okay, let's do it. Like,
yeah, I think people genuinely forget too the problem. Anyone who works in the technical field understands this, but if one thing goes wrong, you then have to be extra careful every little change. So if you try to rescript something and you need to validate that it's going to be right, and because you've made a change, you have to revalidate your output to make sure it's correct. And if it's not, you have to do it over and then revalidate again, because you don't just want to be like, oh, I think I solved it. Yeah, let's go and hope it's for the best.
Probably okay.
But, yeah.
Yeah, lots of times it's like speed issues that you're like changing the speed in which you're going over, but sorry.
Oh no, so the mail, the fact that they said it was the mail and people were predicting that is not surprising, considering that I believe the mail and the auction house has caused super extended maintenance on previous patches relatively often. It's kind of like a joke for anybody who's played the game for a while, and that's probably why people were saying it, is because it's like, if you've played WoW for 12 plus years or something, you're like, oh, it's the mail. Didn't work. The mail broke everything again. Or it's the auction house, which is like one of the reasons they did the whole auction house redesign in Shadowlands. They admitted openly, was like, it's for a tech reason, so it doesn't completely destroy our day every time we try to do a patch.
Well, I remember the auction house in BFA was just a miserable, like it wouldn't load items. You almost couldn't use it. It was almost in an unusable state. So yeah, and I mean, these are mail's been breaking patches when they're not copying every single character over to another database altogether.
Yeah.
So it was a long. It was like at worst probably less than double a normal extended maintenance, which is really, for what we're getting, pre-patch plus classic era servers, kind of makes sense. I think it's within line. I think there are other things that you can be mad about during this pre-patch launch that are not just having to wait to actually play. Because again, waiting to actually play is actually it's kind of a good sign for a game. When people are mad they didn't get to play the game, it's kind of a good thing.
It's like a hype killer for sure. The extended maintenance. It feels bad at the time, but it's let's all be real. By this point, we're talking about it. By next week, everyone will have forgotten it happened. And people will be thinking about TBC, and that pre-patch window will be like, oh yeah, it was one half of a day realistically from people from work. Like they didn't get to play that evening, unfortunately. That's about it. It's really hard to get that mad about it.
Yeah, but I think it just got to the like total like explosion rate because people were already mad about the pre-patch only being 14 days. And then now like everything is like, so really we only get 13 days. Like what? And I'm like, okay.
The memes were out of this world. They were actually there was actually a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, the anger definitely seems larger than the sum of its parts. It's like people were I think that tension already from the last couple of weeks has been just people are waiting for that boiling point and we're constantly hitting little steps of it.
Right.
Yeah, just looking for a reason to blow up. And I think a big mistake that they made was the incremental, like, you know, when I would run into a problem like that, we often did our migrations on the weekend so that if we screwed up, we had the whole weekend to deal with it. But them just pushing it 3 hours each time was probably a mistake. They probably should have said, we don't know. We will try and keep you updated, but we don't know. You might just want to go to bed. You know, is basically what I think they should have done.
Yeah, even saying like, hey, follow this. We will tweet as soon as it is up. It could be 3 hours. It could be 8. Like, I think that would have been helpful because I know a lot of people that were just sitting there like, okay, 3 more hours. Okay, they get on 3 more hours. Now it says 3 more hours. Okay, like, you know, it's frustrating to feel like you're going to be there when it comes out and be able to experience that. But, you know, it is what it is. I know Bob hates that saying, but
I do hate that saying.
Like, I mean, it is. What are you going to do about it?
It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't, though. Yeah. If they come out and say, hey, maintenance might be 3 hours or 8 hours, the forums are going to go crazy, too. Everyone's going to be like, why wouldn't you know how long it's going to be? Yeah, but that alone displays some incompetence as well, too, without them knowing if it's going to mess up or not. Like, it's so hard to predict what they should do. And it's classic WoW. They probably don't have a full-time PR person working on their wording of these maintenance messages. It really does stink, but hey, it's out now, and we get to play it.
It is definitely out. So let's talk about.
There also was a queue. Are we talking about that later?
No, I don't have that in the notes, but yeah, the queues did pop up on some of the big servers. So I don't know if they're going to put layering back in or not. I don't know if it's might even already big. It's back in now.
Yep.
Okay.
And still queues.
They're pretty. Yesterday was way easier. Sorry, like later in the evening. Yesterday was way easier. On me, at least on the server I play on. My first attempt to log in was like a 2.5 hour queue, and then yesterday was I tried to get in on last night later in the evening. It was like 20 minutes. So I'm not sure if that was a time thing or a layering.
Yeah, I think Bob told me yesterday to start logging in because it was like an 1.5 queue at like 6 or something.
Yeah, I just never logged out for the last 2 days, so that fixed that problem for me.
You gotta remember too, the actual prime time is actually the queue is pretty low because everyone's logging in anticipation of it. So 6 is actually usually when the queue is nearing its peak. So an 1.5 at like 6 or 7, that's probably as bad as it's gonna get. TBC launch though, I think the bigger thing is that we should probably expect a rather large queue for the actual launch of TBC, because if pre-patch is giving like an hour queue, I think a 4-hour queue on White Main or something like that wouldn't be unreasonable on pre-patch day, which if there's some kind of weird extended maintenances and things like that, you might just get kicked from queue and stuff like that. So I think people just need to prepare themselves for that first day to be sort of bust. And in the long run of things, it really stinks. And I'm one of those people who's going really, really hardcore out from the outset, right? We're going to have 5 people on being like, we want a dungeon this whole time. We're going to be sitting here. But you just got to understand that one day is absolutely nothing in the long run of TBC. Yeah. It's not even like Classic where you got to level for like weeks before you're 60. You're going to be 70 within whatever time frame you want to hit, even missing a day. So just be prepared for queues and be prepared for things to go wrong for TBC.
Yep. But
What was the world first 70 back in the day? I'm trying to find. Oh, 28 hours.
28 hours. Yeah, and that was with
28
the help
hours.
of that was with the help of his guild. I
yeah, he had
believe. It
like
was a
20
French
people
guy
helping him. Yeah.
who they
Yeah,
were like,
that's still
speed
fast
clearing.
though. If we're talking like the world
yeah.
first is less than 2 days played time, even with like a lot of assistance, that does like give a relative time frame for people who aren't sure, who've not played TBC. Like it's the leveling time is very different than classic, very different.
But
Yeah,
and I mean the
Wait, is that
leveling from
28
1 to
days
60
played time?
No, that was
28
28
hours.
28 hours. They did it from
Oh,
60
okay,
to 70.
okay.
Well, and
I was like,
the actual
28.
the actual
Really wasn't it?
the actual leveling now from 1 to 60, we've had people leveling in the guild. They're already in the mid and high 40s, and it's actually really sped up quite a bit.
Yeah.
Questing is giving some crazy experience too, so it's actually been pretty good.
Yeah, that was actually something that a lot of people, when the boost was kind of becoming like this controversy, I don't think enough people really were selling was the fact that like the XP speed or the leveling speed when the pre-patch was going to hit, they had already said they were using the 2.3 leveling changes. So like, I kept, at least for myself, I kept being like, it's fast, like it's really fast. People don't, especially if you do dungeons, because like not only do you get an increased quest XP from dungeon quests, but dungeon quests themselves have an even more inflated value in the pre-patch right now.
And you need
go
less
do a dungeon run, and it's huge compared to classic.
Yeah, and you need less actual experience per level to level. So it's just compounded with all the changes.
And there's a few extra hubs and things like that too. So there's always been these sort of weird awkward gaps where you're like, I guess I need to go get boosted right now or something because I ran out of quests. I don't want to take 40 minutes to get to the other side of the world. But now it's a little bit better. So all these things combined, honestly, leveling solo questing is like super doable. If you could could go in 2 weeks, you could hit that 60 absolutely alone. Yeah.
Dust Wall of Marsh, that awkwardness is finally solved.
Yeah.
Finally gone.
I ran somebody through those mud sprocket quests last night. It was pretty cool. It's pretty cool. But some other changes that have come in the pre-patch that people just might not be aware of is consumables have changed. No longer can you stack tons of consumables. There were certain ones you couldn't stack, but you could stack a lot of consumes. Now most everything is separated into battle elixir or
Guardian elixir.
Guardian elixir.
And battle elixir.
And then you have your food buff, and then most things are in that, and that's kind of weird for people still raiding Nax. So, I think like with the talents changing and everything else, I'm curious to see how people's runs have gone. We didn't actually run a Nax, so I don't know. But have you guys had any experience? Like, do you know anybody that's had any experience running anything with just the small amount of consumes?
From what I've heard from people that I know who are raiding, it didn't seem like it changed all that much, honestly. People seem to just do at this point too. If you're doing Nax still, realistically, you're probably more than geared for it. So the consumable change, you may not notice as much as someone if you were like in the first weeks of progress, right? And world buffs and everything. I mean, the world buffs, to be fair, like their value was way higher than most consumables. So.
Yeah.
So and between talent changes and things like that too. I mean, people are making up for any changes just by coming with these kind of pre-patch overpowered talent builds. Not everybody is as strong as other classes. Like some classes benefited more from this change, of course, but overall, your 40-man rage would be much stronger in pre-patch.
One thing I will point out that a lot of people might not have noticed, a lot of people in our guild didn't notice it the first day, and I had to point it out, is that all the flasks have changed. Your Flask of Titans now only has 400 health instead of 1200 health. Your spell power flask only has 70 spell power. I think it was like 120 or 140 before, something like that.
I forget.
Yeah, and then the other flask is only I think 70 or something intellect. So those have changed quite a bit, and the prices just keep dropping. Like I watched them drop on white main the last couple days from 200 gold for Flask of Titans to now I think it's like down to 60. So
Yeah, it's something that a lot of people may either not know or not remember, but when TBC launched originally, the Guardian and Battle Elixir change wasn't there, and flasks from vanilla were pretty competitive with the flasks from TBC. Like we're talking like either some of them were like almost identical. They were like less than 1% or like 2% different. So if you ever want to go find something fun, go watch like a world first raid clear of like Gruul's Lair, and the stack of buffs is just complete insanity. Anybody who played during that time as a raider will tell you it was one of the worst times to actually raid, because you literally were like, people complained about the world buff meta. Take the world buff meta, because they also were active.
they were world buffs. Yep.
Yeah. So take the world buff meta and apply all of the vanilla consumables and now all of the TBC consumables, and that's your day, which is like 7 hours. So then you can now raid for 5. And then you sleep and do it again tomorrow. Like that's
Oh man,
so
yeah.
I've been seeing stuff on forums and stuff, people like complaining about the Guardian and Battle Elixir change. As like I said, everybody who raided then, we're thankful for it. You too, trust me, will be thankful for it.
Definitely. Like, I mean, if anybody who played a warrior or any class that had to use these unbelievable amounts of consumes, and I literally had to get an add-on that would tell me when I didn't have one up, because I couldn't just keep track of it looking up there, because I was like, and then I had to make, you know, my macro for bloodthirst dropped off certain buffs that I didn't want, like arcane intellect, things like that, because you would push buffs off. And so it was a big pain. I am happy for this change. If you're not, I'm sorry, but I'm happy for it.
I mean, this is just a TBC thing. I didn't know people were like unhappy about this change, to be honest. I thought it was just a thing we all acknowledged we'd be dealing with going into TBC. Yeah, I think people had talked about before we knew that they were going to be nerfed. People had brought up that using old flasks was good and that like Black Lotuses were still going to be worthwhile. So I feel bad if anyone was like stockpiling thinking that this was going to be a really useful tactic. But hey, if you have a bunch of Flask of Titans, if you're going to go dungeon level, they'll still be a little bit useful. They're not worthless, but they're not as good.
I mean, if you do want to make some money, though, there are still like some old world consumables that are still really good in TBC. Like for some casters, the Wizard Oil, the Brilliant Wizard Oil, is technically better for some specs than the new one coming out in TBC because of the crit. So if for people who are worried, like, oh, all my vanilla stuff's dead, it's not. Elixir of Demon Slaying, for example, it's still going to be valuable. So ghost mushrooms are going to be loved still for quite a while.
Yep. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of stuff. I mean, people are going to be working up more characters too, because it's quicker to level. Like those old enchanting supplies, like those are still going to be worthwhile. There's still going to be people are going to be putting Crusader on a lot of their weapons early on, because Mongoose is going to be a fortune. So
yeah,
there's going to be a lot of things, and people that are more casual probably will just always use Crusader over Mongoose. So these things are still going to be worthwhile. You're still going to be spending time in Azeroth, so just be ready for that. All right, so something that a lot of people that were worried about is the dungeon daily limit, and they did go ahead. You know, there was some confusion at the start. The 30 was in, but they quickly changed it. At least for right now, for pre-patch and for what they stated as the beginning of the Burning Crusade launch, there will be no dungeon cap. I don't know if they'll add one in later. It's possible. It probably depends on bots, but there's going to be no dungeon cap. We've had a couple guildies test it, and it is true.
Yeah. No dungeon cap. We've talked about the dungeon cap before, and when it's a fix that hurts some real players because they're trying to fix a bot issue, it never feels that good when the issue they're trying to address is like not your fault and you're being punished for it. 30 was a lot for Classic. I think most people probably never hit that particular limit. If you were boosting, you're definitely hitting that limit if you were going pretty hard. But for the dungeon grind in TBC, I was really not looking forward to having a 30 cap. So I was hoping they would at least raise it. Getting rid of it altogether at the beginning is awesome too. But bot problems are going to come back. So whether they impose it again or not, I don't really like this philosophy. I bring up RuneScape sometimes, but in original RuneScape, to fix their real world money trading problems, as well as people's like credit cards being stolen, they just basically got rid of trading. You couldn't like give your friends money anymore unless you gave them something of equal value back. So like you just could not give your friends money because they were so worried about real world trading and bots and things like that, and people getting scammed. And
I
it's
would get
like you
destroyed
Interesting.
if Bob couldn't
Why?
give me money.
Well, yeah, like why ruin your
That's so
game
true.
to fix a problem that bots are causing? Like, I don't like the fundamental change. This is a little more minor, but I'm glad it's lifted for the pre-patch, and I'm glad it's going to be lifted for the beginning of TBC.
Yeah,
And they did say
realistically,
they would go back and like address it if it, if it should be implemented again.
yeah, I think realistically, I made this joke. I forget a couple. I forget which video. Within the last couple, about the fact that this will affect a combined total of like 7 people realistically in the world. But at the same time, I completely agree with the sentiment that if the solution to a botting problem is to hinder the players in any way, it's usually a bad or incomplete solution. And we do see this in other games other beyond WoW. You brought up RuneScape. The whole premise behind like Destiny, you can't trade in that game, is because they've said botting is like their reasoning. Yeah, I played Guild Wars 1 a lot alongside WoW, and Guild Wars 1 had a botting problem, and they literally, their solution was to just brute force ban them. That's all it was. They just literally hired on staff to take out bots because it was becoming a problem.
Well, and you could do that. I mean, one of the biggest bot problems was rogues pickpocketing in BRD, and they didn't even have to reset the instance. Like, they could have easily made it so that you could only pickpocket, and then they wouldn't the pickpocket stuff wouldn't respawn, or they just could hire one guy, and one guy could just go in there, show up, talk, nobody talks back, ban. Show up, talk, nobody talks back, ban. I mean, literally would be pretty easy.
I don't usually talk back.
Yeah, I don't know about the talk back part, but I do agree that the problem with ban waves, and this is a much longer discussion that we shouldn't have right now. But the problem with ban waves is that they can make their money back before they get banned. If there's some risk involved where you might just get banned at level 25 while you're grinding up, it might not be monetarily worthwhile to keep botting these accounts. But as it is now, every hunter bot who ends up naked because they kept dying again and again, and it's just like meleeing mobs out in 1,000 needles, they don't get banned. They hit level 60, they make their gold, they sell it, they make $150, and it costs them 2 months of subscription fees. And so why wouldn't they keep botting? They'll just make more accounts. But if there's risk involved.
Sorry, sorry. Go ahead and.
No, if there's risk involved, then there is some element of monetarily, does this make sense for a real money trader to be involved?
Gotcha. Okay, so just to clear it up, I wasn't talking about a GM sending a tell. I was talking about a GM in a crazy robe showing up, standing in front of you. If you're playing, you're going to be like, whoa, like you're either going to you're gonna respond at that point. You know what I mean? So that's what I was saying.
I don't think I would. It's just like I don't answer phone call numbers that I don't know.
But this dude is just in your instance right there.
Yeah, I'd be like, that's super weird. That's probably a bug.
You are trolling me right now.
Or or I'm like, he's trying to take all my money. Like, get away from me. I'm not here.
You're taking the stranger danger thing for real. You're like, how do you know this guy? I'm not talking to him.
Well, I think on private servers, they got that little secret room. They must have it in WoW as well too. That interrogation room. Just teleport them in there and interrogate them.
Dude, Ultima Online had that. They had literal jail for people that were using macros. Yeah,
guys, I get ported to an interrogation room, and I'd be like, cancel my subscription. What's happening right now? I've been hacked. This is done. Goodbye.
Man. All right.
But I did want to say real quick, at the risk of sounding like a Blizzard defendant, part of the botting problem, which we just have to accept, if people buy the gold, they'll always exist. Like we can't get around that, unfortunately. Like Blizzard
Yeah.
can do Blizzard could do botting perfectly, but if there is such a large market that you're mentioning that risk, if there's a financial risk for them, but the gain outweighs that risk, those bots are going to forever exist.
I would
think the biggest
just like to
problem-
point out before Yip talks that that was not me defending Blizzard.
Yeah, she gets a lot of shit on the show for that.
Well-
Flack for it, okay?
I mean, it's not
I'm
really
not
a
either,
Blizzard
to be
defense.
fair. I'm not.
It's just the nuance of the situation. But the problem is, like, I think that it's more rampant because of the bots and the hyperinflation that exists right now. And there's no, we were talking about this in Guild last night. There's no mechanism within the game that doesn't rely on other players to make an adequate amount of gold per hour to actually play the game. At least it was like that for Nax. Like if you weren't doing GDKPs or boosting other people for gold, if you're going out there and farming or doing quests, you're not making an adequate amount of gold per hour. That's due to hyperinflation because of like mages were doing the little leaf guys, sapling farms in Dire Mall and things like that, where they were just generating like 50 raw gold per hour times 500 bots times 24 hours a day, and then just boom, the actual cost of gold for a while on Whitemane, it's going up again. But I had looked before, it was like $15 per 1,000 gold. You'd have to be insane to not see, like, to like at least consider that. Like a normal player would be like, 15, I got $15. Like that's crazy. So yeah, there's just so much nuance to this situation that it's just it's impossible to.
You're saying you did some investigative journalism in checking gold prices, correct?
Yeah.
Oh yes, absolutely. And at the beginning, when I needed a ton of gold, like for Lionheart and for Edge Masters, gold was really expensive. There was no way to get it in phase 1. Gold was like insane. They would level you to 60 for like $900. I was like, what? Yeah, it was insane.
I'm like, do you even want to play this game? Like, who pays $900? And I'm not judging. I mean, kind of, I guess.
Judge
like,
someone who pays someone to level them.
Like, I feel like you should just play a different game.
Dude, when I first got my Edge Masters, I had to borrow money from one of our guildies that was doing mage multi-boxing, right? And Mel and I literally got so lucky. We ground, like, we weren't good enough for jump runs quite yet, so we were doing Moradon. I had 3 flurry axes drop and sold them for over 500 gold a pop on the shared auction house. So I got lucky there. But
Nice.
you know, like gold probably was a lot more expensive then because there just wasn't as much of it in the market, and everybody was sinking their gold into epic mounts, which they're not doing now, at least not as much.
Yeah. We had just talked about Consume, so I want to bring this up. Blue brings it up in chat. Greater Protection Potions only last 2 minutes now, so you can't pre-pop them. And some people are struggling, I guess, with like Lotheb and things like that, where you want that pre-pop in. So you won't have that second Shadow Protection Potion off cooldown for Lotheb, where if your DPS is not above a certain threshold, you actually really need that. It might be crucial to some guilds to be able to get Lotheb down.
They still have the same cooldown, but they only last 2 minutes. Is that what you're saying?
They last, yeah, right. So as soon as your potion's back up again, the buff is now gone. Whereas before you had like an hour, and then your potions would be back up, and then you'd pull the boss. And even as a warrior, you could, for Lotheb, you could pop a Mighty Rage potion, and then pop your Shadow Protection again.
Well, then also,
and still be okay.
like also Saffron, like we would pop both a Shadow and Frost pot, pre-pop. So you can't really do that now either.
Yeah, so what I said before about guilds being stronger, that's overall for your character, but maybe some of these consume chains are hurting people. It looks like some people have been struggling in our chat in Nax this week. So maybe not as huge as of a buff on some of those really niche, challenging bosses that are in there.
Kim crunched the numbers on priests, and apparently it's like you do it at 10 seconds and then 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what you would have to do. Yeah, it is possible because, it is possible, of course. And honestly, I don't want to say it like this, but like I don't know. I think our guild can get away with like one shadow protection potion. I think
Yeah.
that if your whole raid is full consumed and you're getting the spores on time and properly with a good order, you should be able to kill Lotheb without even needing that other shadow protection potion. But again, I mean, it depends on.
I mean,
the
I
skill level
wasn't.
of
I
your
mean, there was a
guild.
lot
For
of
the
times where I
last-
wasn't using my Hellstone, or I wasn't using
Yeah, for the
X,
last
Y, or Z, right?
for the last few weeks, every time Corpse would call for us to use our bandage, I would just use my health stone because I knew we were going to drop it before I needed to bandage.
Right, yeah, of course. So, but again, we're not even casual core anymore. We are now hardcore on the new infographic. So, I don't want to say that our experience is going to be the same for everybody,
Or
of
sweaty.
course. But there is a way to do it. Even with this nerf, it doesn't make Lotheb impossible. It just means you really got to get the spores down and that the maximizing your DPS however you can will push through that. Or as Kim said, pop it at 10 seconds exactly, and
Yeah.
you'll be all right.
All right,
I
so
think we also, I don't know if we mentioned this, but we also took the week off from raiding.
Oh yeah, we
Well,
took 2 weeks off from raiding, so we're not raiding until TBC comes out anymore, which
Yeah.
I think is pretty good. We made it all the way up till pre-patch. I think we did our work. We did the most we can.
the dishes are done, dude.
Yeah.
Those breaks are actually like really nice. They're like little mental resets. They get you like
Yeah.
re-hyped to raid again. They really do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. So in other news, the fun not bug list for TBC has come out. Now we're not going to talk about all of these. There'll be a link in the show notes if you want to see them all. But did any of these stand out to any of you?
Yeah, the big one for me, and I mentioned it before the show, and this is something that I felt while we were PvPing the other night. I thought this was funny. It's the overpower one for warrior, where if you didn't use your overpower and you whirlwind and someone else dodges, you won't be able to use that initial overpower on that first target. So it was kind of annoying, and maybe you just have to prioritize that overpower over your whirlwind coming out in order for that not to happen. But I was definitely missing some combos on people because of that, unfortunately. But I just thought stuff like that is funny. But it's going to be class specific. I think every class has one that you probably didn't realize. Mages, arcane concentration, that's like the clear casting state, doesn't proc off blizzard. Like there's all these things where you should look at this list and really check your class and see what's going on there, because there might be things going on that you think are like a bug, or you're maybe messing something up that is just in the game.
Anybody else have one that sticks out to them?
Can you just explain this to me? Prayer of Mending will proc from damage that is reflected back at the priest. What does that mean?
So Prayer of Mending goes off, you place a spell.
No,
So
I know
when
what
you-
Prayer of Mending is. Yeah.
It's saying that if something gets reflected back at you, so they're not doing damage, but like think about the AQ guys at the beginning where they have that buff that will reflect shadow damage or fire damage. It's just saying that Prayer of Mending will proc off that reflected damage, not just off the damage that something does to you.
It's also pretty big in arenas because reflective shield. It's actually in there as a note, but reflective shield is very common in arena or in general. It's actually like even in speedrunning guilds, I think we'll see it a lot more. So little things like that will now proc it at least.
And for sorry, go ahead.
So I had two actually that were really surprising though. Two that were on here. I forgot that the Cenarian War Hippogriff didn't have a ground animation in TBC.
I know. I didn't want to
completely
say
forgot
it.
about that.
But my Cenarian War Hippogriff is the mount that I want to use in TBC. And I read this and I was like, oh, what?
I remember I was watching, like I had seen, like, I was watching like little clippets from in beta, and I was just like, why is no one like running around on this thing? Well, all right.
I bought that in beta, but I guess I never tried to run around on it.
There's a lot of those. Like that's a perfect example of like I would have never. My memory would never have remembered that ever.
Yeah, the problem is with a game
mean,
like
this is
WoW.
like
So wait, you just fly on the
Remember,
ground?
he doesn't remember anything.
Like you just
Yeah, to
can't
my
land?
knowledge, it's just a launch. No, you can land, but like you can't like do anything
can't.
on ground.
Oh, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't run at
No,
all.
no,
You have.
can run. It doesn't have like when you're on ground, you can't do like space bar and do the
Yeah,
little.
when you do your
little thing.
special and it goes like,
Yeah,
you know,
but,
like
the
you
hippogriffs.
can't do that.
Yeah, the
Okay,
hippogriff
gotcha.
ones though are so cool.
Yeah, like
They're
yeah.
really cool.
You don't notice it, but when you're in Azeroth and you're on a flying mount, you'll realize that you hit that button all the time to do a special on like the ground version of a flying mount, and it's just kind of silly.
Oh,
But
you kind of reminded me of something. Just to let the listeners know, I gave you the tip about, that you could possibly lose your gold for this, for buying other factions' mounts, having someone buy it and then trade it to you before pre-patch. I got a cat. It worked. I've got a cat now on Bob, and it's freaking awesome. So, but
I'm
now
proud of you.
you could also just do BGs and get one for like 20 of each token, which I didn't think about
Yep.
prior. But yeah.
Well, you
Whoops.
know.
I'm genuinely surprised they actually kept that because that was originally a hot fix.
Oh,
So
wow.
I was legit expecting that trick to
Yeah.
not be implemented.
And that's
the fact
why-
that they kept it is really surprising.
I told
Just, like,
listeners,
low
I
on
was
the
like,
symbol.
if you do this, just know you might be wasting your gold. But I tested it
Yeah.
2 weeks before on the beta with a copied over character, and it did work. So I was like, I'm going to give it a
I
try.
already said that if you're playing Wrath, just get Exalted. Just get Exalted. Spend your money on Exalted, but then you can get all the mounts in Wrath and get your albino Drake. That's the
I mean,
real.
I feel like maybe that was on their list to correct in the update, and they were like, "Listen, we've already been closed for 16 hours. Like, let's just push it through. Who cares about the mounts?"
Something I want to point out. I know Zerbraxi has another one, but maybe I'm going to steal it, maybe not.
Ooh.
But in my dungeon leveling group, I'm engineering and someone else is engineering, and I was planning on cheesing some of the things with grenades. Iron grenades fizzle on targets that are higher than level 50. I noticed that in game because I was like, oh, I'm going to make a bunch of consumes getting ready for my dungeon leveling, and I'm like looking at iron grenade. It doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't work. However, thorium
Yeah.
grenades work till 67. So you can use that for the dungeon leveling part if you want to spend that money on thorium grenades here. You're
Yeah,
good to go.
what's the other one? The one that silences. I always forget the name of it. Is it Arcane? Or so what's the am I thinking of it right now?
Arcanite bomb? Is that the one you're
Maybe
thinking
that's
of?
what I'm thinking of. Yeah, if you want to really
Arcane
spend the
bomb,
money and
arcane
be
bomb.
a god amongst tanks, that's and you're an engineer.
That
That-
honestly might be affordable these days, to be honest. Things are not that expensive. Well, I don't know. Arcanite and arcane crystals are really cheap on Whitemane right now, back to like 6 gold per crystal. I have a bunch of alchemists. That'd actually be a good idea to just make arcane bombs. And you get 3 arcane bombs per craft. So it's
Yeah.
like 1 arcanite bar turns into 3 arcane bombs. At least, yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely for those later dungeons, it might be worthwhile spending some
Well, I
gold
mean, at
power
level
through.
70, there's going to be tons of classes that could just solo DM jumps. And so like those will probably be, they'll probably be stacking up a lot of thorium and arcanite, and who knows, the drop rate might jump up in TBC. I have no clue. I think, can't you get them from prospecting too in TBC?
I don't remember.
Yeah,
honestly.
I'm not sure on that either.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, you can
Well,
get all of the other ones that you get from large thorium veins. So I would assume arcanite crystals would be in there too.
I would also assume that.
Okay, well, we'll just have to wait and find out.
Okay, so I have a question though before you move on.
Well, I wasn't going to move on. I was going to say
Okay, go ahead.
okay. So what surprised me was, like, when I first got on, I wanted to PvP with my lock, and so I was, of course, had no soul shards. So I went to my normal spot, which is level 48s, 49s, and 50s, and those are now gray. When it used to be at 60, though, like level 48 and up was green. Now it's level 52 and up. So those markers have changed. That's the first thing listed in there, not a bug. I think it's one of the first things. And it doesn't say specifically the levels, but I just know because I went to make shards, and I had to kill level 52s or higher to get shards, whereas before I could kill level 48s or higher. So that's something that changed that people might not notice. So that's also going to be the case. If you're killing somebody for honor, you're not going to get honor for anything, below level 52. And that was weird for me.
I can confirm you do not get arcane crystals from prospecting thorium ore.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Okay, so my question is, so what is the boss in Karazhan that we had so much trouble with our class spec?
Nightbane.
Okay, so it says Nightbane's Smoking Blast is doing the correct amount of damage and is properly mitigated by armor. Is this... Did they make changes to that I've missed?
No, none of these are changes. All of these are
I
just
know.
saying that these aren't bugs.
Right, but did they make changes to Nightbane?
Not
I miss?
since we did it with Mad Season and
So
Willie and
it's gonna be
Josh and
really
all
hard?
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just going to be really hard.
Nightbane's a special boy for special care of people, not necessarily a week one.
Well, and lots of people
Got
aren't even going to have the Regent to call him down week one. It's like a long
it's
quest
like
line.
yeah, so
Yeah, it's meant to be like the secret boss for a reason. Definitely.
With the secret boss? I didn't even know that. See?
Yeah, it's because on the beta we got like the urn free, and so we were able to do it.
Okay, I was just curious.
Cool. All right, so moving on, we already have our first level 60 Blood Elf Paladin. Did you guys hear anything about this? I heard everybody talking about it in the chat, but I was PvPing and on a mission.
We were watching this as we were leveling our shaman rerollers. We were following closely to this level 60 Blood Elf Paladin as multiple mages were clearing Maradon for them, and they were going into each instance just to collect the experience. It was pretty insane to watch as we were like, hey, we're level 25. Hey, this person's level 55. It was pretty insane. It was 14 hours or something like that.
What, with like a band of people around him leveling him as well?
He was doing things like where there was a booster pulling all of Moradon, and like while he wasn't there, and then when the pull was about ready to do the kill phase, they would summon him back. I think he was doing quests someplace else. They would summon him back. He would go in. He just has to tag mobs. I think maybe he had to drop down consecration. I forget. Whatever I boosted, if I wasn't in there, I had to like actually tag the mobs in some way, like with Blizzard when I was doing my mage. But he was able to just not wait the like 15-20 minutes that it takes to do the full pull. He was able to quest during that time. So it was pretty intricate.
He was also doing mob tagging, I think, too, right? He was mob tagging
early on. Yeah.
So
okay, so can we just categorize him as another level in our infographic here of like
yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Psychopath.
This is something that you have to think about as man hours and manpower. Is 14 hours impressive when the total amount of hours of man hours, which is what you really should measure this in?
Yeah, can you multiply that by like the 82 people that actually helped or whatever?
It's cool. Like, I don't think people should trash this guy for taking advantage of like boosts and mob tagging that everyone else is taking advantage of and being like, this isn't a real level, but it is like, okay, yeah, I mean, cool. It's kind of abusing these systems that people are already kind of like sketched out about for the most part in the community, or even if they take advantage of it, they're like, this is I don't know. It's fine. The nice thing is these boosts aren't going to gold sellers. The boosts that you're getting in Maradon are going to gold sellers, so.
I always find it just so creative, like what people can pull off. Honestly,
yeah.
As someone who has like no horse in this race, I'm always like, wow, that's really cool. People are really creative.
Impressive.
Yes, definitely they are. But yeah, congratulations, and be interested to see the level 70 race too, because that's going to be nuts too.
Yeah, that will be nuts. I'm sure people are going to pull out stuff that we have not even talked about.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to the honor debacle. So when I first logged in, I was like, oh my God, I'm getting so much honor for every battleground. I was able to literally get my weapon. And now I had saved up 20 of each mark too, but I was able to get my weapon and 3 pieces of gear, like day one. I mean, it was unreal. And then they nerfed it by 10 times. So I guess we were getting 10 times the honor. And I did look up old screenshots. I tweeted it out on my Twitter at @blazin_Bob. An old screenshot. The honor that they nerfed it to is definitely accurate, but it felt bad. So
yeah, we were getting 1,700 per win in Alterac Valley, and Alliance were getting Okay, let's go back for a moment.
Yeah, tell them about the
Because
first 3 hours.
bonus honor was cool, but we didn't even know that that was happening at the beginning. At 4 in the morning, I'm awake. I'm ready to go for pre-patch. We queue into Alterac Valley. 5-minute wins because Drek's War Masters aren't spawning, so you can just rush straight to Drek and kill it. I had a 60% mount because I didn't realize that the honor was like bugged to be 10x, so I didn't think I had to rush or anything to play my warrior. So I was on my mage trying to get some AoE gear so I could just boost a little bit easier and not have to pay as much attention when I'm like in stocks and stuff like that. So I wanted to get some of the Grand Marshal gear. So I'm on my mage. My 60% mount could not make it to Drek's room before we would win. I just had nothing to do. I would go into a game, I run to Galv, we kill Galv, we win. And it's like Galv goes down. Sometimes Galv couldn't go down fast enough and Drek would go down first. That's how crazy this was. And it seemed like Drek had no help. I don't know if it was just the new talents or maybe just when there's War Masters up, you don't notice how much Drek's health has, but he was going down in like 30 seconds. You could almost 5-man him with the no War Masters thing going on. So we were just getting so much XP, so many marks, and I knew something was wrong because I was like, it was not this easy. Like I could not hit honor cap in a day back in the day. There's no way.
Not even
that was happening.
not possible.
I was like, I'm gonna get honor cap and not have any of the marks I need in order to buy the gear, and that's just not how it worked before. That just isn't. I remember getting
actually
honor and then going to get marks.
Yeah, well, and it turned into like Alliance and Horde pre-mades literally doing lose pre-mades. Like we were killing it in Arathi Basin, and we had something like 10 5 caps, which was just crazy that night. But two of the 5 caps were literally hordes standing in spawn. We're like, what's going on? And we're like, oh, they're just trying to get fast marks because they've already got cap. So it led to some weird stuff.
Yeah, and the biggest problem here, and there was a lot of feedback. So they did end up changing this. They decided to double it from the 1/10, so we're now at 1/5 of the honor. The reason that I think this change is really good is the biggest problem is people like me were on getting honor capped, getting marks with the Alterac Valley bug, but getting so much honor, and I was telling people all day how quickly they were going to get their Grand Marshal gear. All these people who are re-rolling or boosting, don't worry about it. You can get all your Grand Marshal gear in a single day. The honor for it is so easy to get. I had my friend logged in. We did 3 Alterac Valleys. We won them back to back to back. 2,200 honor. And then all of a sudden we got 220 honor. And all day I was telling him how he was going to get all his Grand Marshal gear. And I was like, I guess not. I guess there's almost no point in putting all this effort in. But now it is 1/5 the XP. Plus, if you do the weekend, it's doubled. So you're basically looking at just below half of the XP we were getting if you're doing the correct battleground, which is Arathi Basin this weekend, Alterac Valley next weekend. The honor, you can farm honor at a little less than half the rate you could when it was really broken. So it's a really, really reasonable change. It's going to feel bad when TBC comes out and we're back to horrible honor. But you know, I think that this was a really solid middle ground where no one can really complain too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had people, I kept saying in videos, like, do not expect to get all your rank 14 gear in like 3 days, because people had that expectation. I was like, it's not like that. Man, the amount of messages I got the day people were PvPing, like, oh, I'm like halfway there. What do you mean you couldn't do it in a week? Wait, hold on. What happened here?
Oh, man. Yeah, well, that's what I was worried about with the PvP stuff too, is because like they were like, well, you could always get the lower gear, you know, doing BGs. And I just remember the BG grind being freaking epic. You know, you're getting like a piece. If you're playing constantly, you're getting a piece like every, 2 days if you're playing 8 hours a day, and so that's what I remembered. But then this came out, and I just wish I would have realized, because I did a lot of like AFK and doing other things. I would have just been grinding had I known. I would have just been going nuts on it. But
we need to quickly stop the recordings. I think Mel's recording broke.
Wait, though, I think you guys can continue, and I can just clap. You guys can all clap, and I can clap, and then we can
Okay.
start another one.
Oh.
Sorry, I trialed it. It didn't work.
Yeah, we can do that.
I can go to
we
the
can
kitchen.
just leave ours.
I just can't go to the bathroom.
So that's this Bluetooth. Bluetooth on a computer? I've
Yeah,
never
why
even
don't
heard
you
of this
use your
stuff.
new sweet head? Like she's got these new cat
They do
ear
the same
headphones.
thing. They
Oh,
do the
true.
same thing.
Okay, well, let's go ahead, Mel. Go ahead and restart your. Sorry, chat. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties. We'll be back on schedule in just a second.
Honestly, I'm
I'm
just glad it wasn't
sorry.
me, to be completely honest.
Right? We've never
happened to us
had a guest
last
throw
week.
up, right?
It happened to us last week too, so now I feel like this is unacceptable. Like it already
Yeah,
happened.
especially because at the beginning I said, "Hey, don't get up and walk away because it's gonna happen
I
again."
know, but I got up and got to the kitchen, and I was like, oh, "Okay, everything's just fine." And then I was like, "Okay, well, I have to go to the bathroom." So I went to the bathroom, and that's when, like, I heard it like go like deaf, like I couldn't hear anything anymore, and I was like,
Where's
Oh,
my
man.
reward? Where's my like certificate for never getting up during the podcast? Is that some sort of like? Can
"Yeah,
I get a?
that's just weird.
How
You
is
add
that
it to
was
your
the
art in the
rules
back?
of the podcast? I thought
You
that
need to
that's what
drink
you
more
do.
water. You need to drink more water."
I just
or
are
wine.
are you drinking water during these podcasts? Is
Yes,
that-
a lot. I'm staying very hydrated.
Yeah, I have 3 cups in front of me. Don't don't laugh.
All right, Mel, you about ready?
Okay, 46.2. Okay, got it. Hold on.
Half of our guild had 20-hour gaming sessions where none of us got up. Where like when pre-patch launched, everyone
Mom,
stayed up all
bathroom.
day. Everyone stayed up all day on Tuesday. So when it actually opened, we were all tired and like we're already tired when pre-patch opened. We're like, time to level the shamans.
Okay,
Hey, you think it is something new? Okay.
it's recording.
Okay, well Bob's missing now.
You
This
know.
is just like raid. This is just
Mhm.
like raid. Everyone going AFK an hour in.
Hey,
had
we
a,
gotta pee.
I'm back.
I had
I'm
the
back.
weirdest tech problem ever last night on my stream, where my UI on my game was flickering in OBS, but only the UI and only in OBS.
Oh, weird.
It
That's
was
a-
obnoxious.
How does that? How does
Well,
that
I
even
mean,
work?
OBS,
I
right?
had no idea.
Like right now, OBS has my animation going in the background, and there's no griffin. There should be a griffin, but there's not. So
There's something weird.
yeah, it's
has
something
to
weird.
be.
Yeah.
It can't be me. It can't be.
Huh.
All right, are we about ready
Okay,
to go?
Bob. Yeah, it's ready.
All right,
I'm recording.
3, 2, 1, check.
Check.
Oh, I was clapping. Shoot.
It's
Mel
okay.
said just clap
Oh
and
my
we're
God.
good.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, check.
Check.
Now the clap. 3, 2, 1. All right, let clear for a second. For Mel's clear.
Should be the same clear as before.
No, it's a different file.
Okay.
Also, another thing they changed is they decided to just give us Darkmoon Faire for the rest of pre-patch, which is pretty cool too, right?
Yo, hype.
Which kind of
Yeah.
contradicts the fact that they were like didn't want to implement pre-patch so that people could get another Darkmoon Faire buff right in.
Yeah, but I mean,
Just saying.
but now we have the different talents. So like the speed
I
runs, like this is literally the speed runs that happen now are going to be, there's going to be 2 of them, and it'll be interesting, but it's not going to be in the books as the fastest speed run.
Right.
There's a new book, Fastest Speed Run with New Talents.
Yeah.
You didn't join that club? Those
Did
are
you
like
see-
the super quadruple X hardcore players.
Just
Yeah,
reminds
back-
me of Total Recall when he's got that girl's head on him and he's going 2 weeks, 2 weeks. Sorry,
Yeah,
just
so now-
reminded me of that.
Now, in vanilla TBC, I don't know what we call old TBC anymore. But in TBC originally, there was massive clout that's like, yeah, this guild completed next, or yeah, I was that I killed KT before. Now it's gonna be everyone asking, what's your pre-patch kill time? What's your pre-patch next speed run time, huh?
I always find these little splits funny because like I know there is in Classic there's this big push for logs to like separate world buff logs versus not world buff logs, and in retail there is like the big problem in Shadowlands now where people don't like that power infusion is as powerful as it is, so people want like no PIs used in a raid logs versus everyone else. So we're gonna have something weird in TBC, I'm sure. It'll be like, do you only have 4 shaman log, or do you have a 7 shaman log?
Dude,
how many warlocks do you have?
Yeah,
exactly.
So Warcraft, you just made me think of something. Warcraft logs, if you could please make parses not count if they get multiple shaman, bloodlust, or heroism throughout the fight. If they are shaman swapping, take away their parse. I would love you for that. If Blizzard isn't going to fix it, you can.
Okay, but to be fair, shaman swapping is a skill, and it does make you more hardcore, right? Like you get a certain X after your hardcore status if you do the shaman swapping.
Yeah, but we've talked about this before. It just kills parsing. Like 4 people in your guild get to parse, and that sucks.
Right, so they need like a super hardcore parsing meta and then a hardcore parsing meta. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
We got to make the infographic. Apply the infographic. Which, how do you parse within the hardcore? Not the speedrun guilds, the hardcore.
I'm like this like really cold. So when I'm like a multiple different mindsets. When I played really hardcore, when I put that brain on, so to speak, my mindset there is the people who were trying to parse did whatever it took to parse. And if you didn't have like the clout to tell your officer, no, I'm getting the second PI or I'm getting the second shaman, you were never going to parse to begin with. Right. So don't even bother. That's like, so that's just the cold reality. If you want a rank 1 parse, you gotta be willing to do all of the things to get the rank 1 parse.
That is a problem though. There is a problem. There's parsing like, hey, I'm trying to get a rank 1, but then there's just like, hey, I would like to be above 90% on all my bosses. I would like to be, like a legendary parse on this boss. And there is some level of, depending on what's available, and I think that shaman thing it's going to be a minor amount of people, right? Like maybe a rank 1 will be hard if you don't have the shamans doing it, but there's not going to be 5,000 people ahead of you who are all doing it. Right. But there is like something to think about where people who are looking at whether or not they want you to join their guild will look at your parses on Warcraft logs. So if you're not getting, you might want to push for that extra boost. So now that your logs look better, someone might take you more often to another guild. So there's some weird meta stuff going on there. But I think I agree. If you can't, you're not going to get a rank 1 if you're not the person who's getting the shamans anyway. So if you're really talking about real parsing, like actually getting 99s and stuff like that, and top 10 parses, you would know if you're going to get them or not.
Yeah, and which sucks because like I've got 95s and 97s throughout all of Classic because I just didn't go get Rend, and I oftentimes had I was geared BIS, but oftentimes didn't have the best weapons until later in each phase. And if I would have been able to get all the buffs every time, I probably would have been able to hit 99s, but I only hit 199 throughout Classic, and I was excited about TBC because, oh, hey, no more world buffs. Like, I actually have a chance now. And then to find out about shaman swapping, I'm just like, God, shoot me now,
There's
dude.
people below you who are like, oh, wow, all their players in their guild are doing heroics every day. That's an advantage I don't have. So your parses shouldn't count either. Like, there's always someone below you upset at the thing that you're doing that edges them out.
Yeah.
So
there's always something. There's always an exploit that some people are going to do that you're not willing to do. And you have to accept that. Like, they put in the time and the effort to do this, or somebody that they're with put in the time and the effort to do this, and power to them, right? Like, that's how much you care about your parsing. And if you're in a good guild, and I don't know, I'm a healer, so maybe I should have, but I don't usually look at parses. I don't usually care because I know that there's certain things to my job that make it so that I'm not going to be healing all the time. And if I am healing all the time, it's because I'm over healing or I'm trying to steal heals from other people because we don't need the healing. And yes, I know people die, but it's because they went, 100 to 60 in 5 seconds. Well, 0.5 seconds. Not 5 seconds. I probably could have healed them in 5 seconds.
All right. Well, we've moved into parsing from talking about Darkmoon Faire, so I'm going to just go ahead and move us on to our last bit of news. And this one, this one hits my heart because I feel like the Blizzard devs, I feel like our podcast is part of their Monday morning meetings. They, get in, they're like, let's check out Warcraft Reloaded, because I didn't see a lot of people complaining about this, but I was definitely complaining about the arena gear ratings that they added. Did not like it. They reverted it, kinda. They're using still the shoulders and the weapon rating that was from season 3, and they're using that on season 1, but they have dropped the whole 5 pieces of gear. These are the different tiers you need. And I think it's a healthy thing that's going to bring a lot more people into our arena that wouldn't even try it before. I'm happy, but Yip's shaking his head. What are you not happy about, sir?
I don't know. I just think it's bizarre to complain about free welfare epics, but then not want an arena rating on the epics. That's all I think. Is if you have the opinion you don't want raiders to get free welfare epics, there should be. Some of these ratings are like lower than 1500. Like, it was not particularly difficult to hit these ratings, and if you deserved them, you could hit those ratings in like less than 10 games because of the way the MMR system worked. So I think that it was already pretty generous. Like, the new system's kind of generous to people. It's fine. It's fine. I mean, I don't. It doesn't need to be more hardcore than it was in TBC, which I think that kind of does do. Which I think kind of oversteps the no changes or slight changes to improve. I think this is sort of like it's sort of like out on a leap. It's just something that I think is cool, but maybe not everyone would. But I think if you don't want people to have welfare epics, then a arena rating on every piece of gear makes sense. If you're a PvEer, why are you wearing PvP gear if you can't PvP? They should have their own separate paths in my game philosophy.
Okay, so here's my philosophy on it, is that when I'm PvPing, I hate being at a disadvantage because they have better gear.
Go play
right?
Overwatch.
When I'm right, and I think that's where I take it from, is I loved Overwatch. But when I'm PvEing, it's your end goal is to get gear from these bosses, right? That's your end all be all goal. There's nothing else other than speedruns, or like they've made their own games out of this, right? But in PvP, your game is to beat somebody else. So if you have the gear, then you're at an even playing field. If you don't have the gear, then you can blame every time you lose on, well, I didn't have this or I didn't have that, right? And I think for a PvP perspective, yes, being able to get better gear with better rating is cool. But at the same time, if those people come down into your rating and you're just as skilled as them, but they have better gear than you, then what is your goal? Like, my goal should not be in PvP to get an item. My goal in PvP is to hone my skills, get better at the PvP meta, and win.
I think the titles actually are the thing that you should have that like boasts, hey, I'm good. You know what I mean?
So why have PvP gear at all?
To PvP.
Why not just have a mode where you go in? Why not just have, you want a mode where you go in with no PvP gear, everything is equalized, and you're on the same playing field as everybody else, like any other PvP game. You're not even playing an RPG anymore. Like, that's the biggest problem, is you're not advancing your character.
Yeah, but I mean, you want to be able, like, the whole point is you want to be able to advance your character, even though you're not as good as everybody else.
Then let me change it. Is that you're just wrong, because the MMR, with an MMR system, there's no weird situation where you're gonna be up against some. If someone has a full set of gear, they're not at 1000 rating. The ratings that were on here were like god awful ratings. 1500, 1600 in an MMR system for a piece of gear literally just means you can play your class. It has nothing to do with gear at all, almost. Like,
so you play your class, you get some gear, but I don't understand what your argument is to the fact that, yes, so you just play, but it's not like PvE, you play
Why?
to kill the boss and to get gear. PvP, you play to win.
You play to win the
beat
game.
People
You
and
play
get
to
better.
win the game. Sorry,
Then why are you playing a
Edwards.
RPG? One of the biggest signifiers of an RPG is an advancement of your character. If there's no way to advance your character in PvP, why am I playing World of Warcraft?
Exactly.
PvE?
That's why people won't do it
I
because of the
PvE.
ratings. You're
You
making the
can
point.
advance
No,
because
I'm
of
making
the
the
rating,
point
because
that
of the
I will-
titles, because of the you can advance because you get to play against better people, and then you play against those better people,
Advance
and
your
those better people.
character. Advance your character. It's a role-playing game. When you level up, you're not leveling up like, hey, why even level 1 to 60? You should just be at full power and then learn your class at 60. Like, this applies to literally anything.
Oh.
Parsing isn't fun because of shamans. Parsing isn't fun because of gear either. Bob's complaining about his weapons and knacks. Why don't you just hand the best weapons to everybody so that they can parse equally? It doesn't
Because
make any
then what's the point of PvE, right?
What's
like
the point of
point
PvP?
is
right,
beating
well-
people and honing your skills and
well,
doing better at your role.
All three of us have talked our points, and if you want to check out previous podcasts, we've actually talked about this at length. But I'd like to hear what Zerbraxi thinks about it.
Oh, I have I have a little bit of a weird take. I actually think the arena system in WoW is one of the worst PvP systems ever implemented in an MMO. I'll be completely honest.
Well, worse,
Elaborate.
just really quick before you explain.
Yeah.
Worse than classic WoW PvP system?
No, Classics is probably the worst.
Okay,
Yeah,
go on.
Classics
then.
is like genuinely like the worst.
We're gonna
PvP
take
system I've
advantage
ever
of that
played in my life.
shit
Discard
tonight.
that
We're gonna just
Yeah,
go in there and just global people all tonight after the pod. It's gonna be glorious.
Yeah.
But sorry, go ahead.
So what I was going to say is I actually think there's a solution that literally solves both of your problems. And what's really frustrating about it is it exists in other games, and WoW has never taken advantage of it. I mentioned it earlier that I think it was maybe before show or whatever. I can't remember that I played Guild Wars 1 a lot during TBC instead. So I played Guild Wars a lot, and it was the PvP specifically. And the reason being is the way that game handles PvE and PvP progression is really clever, where your PvP progression, when you make a character, you're literally at like a stat cap and all of your gear is normalized and you have access to any abilities or skills that your PvE characters would have. When you unlock or when you win in PvP, if you make it all the way through, because they do it a little bit differently without going down the whole way, but if you make it to the very end of the rung and you play against people, you'll get items and gear which unlock the skins to unlock in PvE. Actually make a level of PvE progression that's horizontal while never having an actual scaling vertical power problem in PvP. And especially if you were to look at retail now, where transmog is massive, huge, or Guild Wars 2 also has the same thing. When PvP becomes on an even playing field, but you can make horizontal PvE progression, whether it be mounts or some other things, you get to keep the RPG progression. It's not statistical, but it's still aesthetic, while also getting that normalized. The only reason you're beating me is because you played better or picked a better comp or have a class that's superior to mine. Because I'm of the belief as well, I do not like beating someone in an arena match because I have Storm Herald. I don't feel satisfied with that. At the same time, I do want to get something for doing PvP other than my own experience or my own knowledge. Actually, Guild Wars also does titles, massive sets of titles in PvP. There's a lot of ways you could do it, and obviously this doesn't help TBC, but that's just one. Yeah, and in Guild Wars 1, you literally the better and more you play PvP, you just constantly build a meter and you unlock more and more rank just by playing better and playing more. But unfortunately, like I said, that doesn't really help TBC here. But at the same time, there are just better systems, and it's it's always hard for me to talk about arena and not just be yeah, but this system's kind of stupid.
I mean, if you're talking about an overhaul, totally fine. If you're talking about getting rid of PvP gear, though, why would anyone do a BG? You've killed battlegrounds. Period. Getting rid of honor gear, right?
Oh, if the rating's too low, you mean?
Yeah, I just mean how much PvP did you do in Classic, right, Bob? Almost none.
Yeah.
You do almost none because there's no gear reward for you. And now that there's a gear reward, we've been PvPing all week.
Yeah, but for me specifically in Classic, I wasn't rich until the end of Classic. Like Kim took me under his wing, taught me the ropes, and I just made out like a banshee. And now I'm just like, I don't even think about the gold that I spend. But early in Classic, I was broke constantly, and there was just no way I could respec just for 4 days of BGs in between. Like I wanted to, and I wasn't going to make a new character because I wasn't going to go get that character gear to go BG. You know, like there wasn't a gear path for me to do, and now there is.
What if they added a gear path where when you do Battlegrounds, you could gear up your ult for PvP? And maybe Arena could have slightly better gear, and all you have to do is play like an average player to be able to get it.
Oh, you're killing me, Yip. You're killing me.
I'm just saying that you like the system. I think you're not thinking it through. I think that at the end of the day, if the system you described existed, you just wouldn't PvP. If you're gonna try to tell me that Infernal Gladiator is the reason you're gonna Arena for the Infernal Gladiator title, then I'd be like, oh, okay.
I'll give you this, Yip. Hold on, though. Hold on. No, like, let me just add this. I'll give you this, Yip. If Honor was like it was yesterday, I'm totally cool with it because I'll be able to get all that, last season gear. But I mean, I'm talking about me. I'm really not talking about me. I'm going to get my gear. Like, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to learn it. I'm not going to be great at the start, but I am going to get up there. Probably not Gladiator again, but like maybe Duelist. Like, I'm going to go hard. So I'm just really just talking for the rest of the population that just want to dabble in PvP, and I think this is a good change for that.
Well, let me my last point on it. I think that when we're talking, my point breaks down a lot when you talk about something like Storm Herald, like Zerbraxi did, where the gear increases maybe way too much versus BG gear to Season 1 Arena gear. Season 1 Arena gear, which wouldn't have had the ratings, to Season 2 Arena gear, not as huge as an upgrade as everyone's talking about. We're not talking about a difference of like, I can 7-second stun somebody and destroy them with Storm Herald. We're talking about like, they've got a little bit more health than me. They've got a little bit more base stats than me. It's not like, hey, you've got Season 1 Arena gear, I've got Season 2 Arena gear, I win automatically. I just don't really kind of believe that is a situation that unfolds. If we want to talk about PvP gear being easy to get, like that Battleground gear being easy to get or something like that, so that people can kind of hop into it casually, I don't think I have any problem with that. But I think that for an RPG to hold up, you just have to have that character progression, even if it is, I don't have a full out thought about it, but if there's more cosmetics involved, more titles involved, maybe that's something that can solve the problem as well too. Not realistic for TBC, of course. So, but I just don't think that removing gear, and again, I don't even love the rating on the gear. I just think that if you're somebody who doesn't like welfare ethics, rating on gear is how that is fit.
Let me finalize my point here, and then we can move on. I'm sorry.
Yes.
But I feel like, yes, you say go play Overwatch if you want to just, PvP for rating and move up, right? But me being a person who did play Overwatch, then played WoW, and I want to play the same game. I want to play the character that I know how to play, and I like both of those areas, right? I like to PvP and I like to PvE. And if I have to transfer between playing Mercy and Overwatch and playing a Priest and WoW, like my mind is going to explode. I don't have time for that. So I would like them to just let me do it all in one game. Okay. And Arena gives them the option to do that, but they take it away by making it so that, and I know they fixed some of the botting so people can't get the gear without, actually playing some games or winning some games. And I think that's a good step. But I don't know. Like you said, it doesn't feel good to beat somebody just because you're so much more overgeared than them.
Well, here.
And
that's just me, though. To be fair, I know a lot of people who happily love having Might of Menethil and walking into somebody.
Yeah, and I've been doing that all week.
But I just don't get that. Yeah,
okay,
that doesn't click with me, but I know there are people who do it.
That's fun. In Battlegrounds, that's fun, right? Like in Battlegrounds, it's like, hey, yeah. But in Arena, when it's 2v2, 3v3, no, you don't want to lose just because you stepped in with the wrong set.
All right, so we've all got to give our point, but a point that wasn't given, that was given in chat, which I'm gonna have to think on. I'll talk to you about it maybe next week if I sleep on it. If it feels good, but he has a hot take that the best PvP gear should come from BGs, and then titles and mounts come from Arena.
Yeah, I think
That's kind of a cool
similar to
take.
Zerbraxi's idea. When you focus the cosmetics and stuff on Arena and then everything else on BGs, I think that's a really good. Way to handle it. If there's a farmable way in BGs where you can learn your class, get some gear, and then arenas as you take that gear and see how you compete against other people. I don't personally.
I think that's a great idea. I think that kind of makes it to a point where you can actually practice and learn your character.
And then
it's kind of like quick mode or quick play in Overwatch, where it's like, I'm not going to learn anything there because everybody plays like a crazy person.
Well,
right?
yeah. But it's a good take because Arena, you just have to do 10 games a week, to get that base amount, and then you're getting the items way slower than like a true PvPer. But you'd have to actually really work in BGs and do a lot of grinding to get those welfare epics.
Okay, Seabase says that was his hot take, by the way. But
did I not say Seabase? Did I say somebody else?
I don't know.
My bad.
I didn't know.
All right, Seabase 1057. That's your shout out.
So I think also you get into this problem where you have an arena team and now we have MMR, right? And I don't think people understand what MMR means exactly. Okay.
I still don't understand what it means here.
I don't understand what MMR means exactly. So going into arena and failing because you're learning your character is going to set your MMR back pretty far.
That'll be perfect. That'll be exactly what you want. What you're describing is what you don't like. You will be placed with other people at your level to then grind up to 1500. If you get destroyed at the beginning, then you don't get placed against people who already have all their arena gear or don't already have all their BG gear. Is like I think the biggest thing is when you have an MMR.
Let's just hope MMR resets every season, whereas that was a big problem with Overwatch. You could literally make a new account, and because you had gotten better, you place a lot higher, and it was a bad system that they improved later. It was literally a bad system. Like we thought we were just gold players, and we made a new account, placed high plat, and made diamond for the first time. It was just like, okay, this is broken. Hopefully, that's not the problem here.
I mean, you can do that with arena teams, though, right? Remaking an arena team sets you back to 1500 anyway, right?
Well, no, now it sets you to but your MMR stays the same.
Yeah,
that's right.
The old version you would do that, but with MMR they're trying to make it so you can't do that, so that you don't keep playing against overgeared better players. But yeah, I mean the problem is the PvP system is so broken. We can throw out hypotheticals literally for hours of ways to improve it, just because there are so many things where it doesn't fit anyone's needs. It's just like this mishmash. It's better than classic or vanilla, but it's still so many things.
Okay, sorry, Zerbraxi, you wanted to say one last thing?
No, that was to say it's actually I think that's actually the larger conclusion to this. Unfortunately, is that this goes to show actually how bad the WoW PvP system is. And let's also then get like really sad here for a second. This system that we're about to get in TBC fundamentally is the exact same system that exists to the very day in Shadowlands. Like they don't change it much at all.
From what I hear, right?
It's not. What's not good in TBC, and it's not going to be good for the next 12 years. It's really strange that they've never actually looked at this and been like, how do we do this better? There are so many other games that have solved all of these problems, and they've just done nothing. But it does go to show, I think that's like the largest conclusion is, the PvP system is not very good. It's really bad.
I think we can accept
hold on, though.
the fact.
We've got to move on.
I know. Shut up. I think we can accept the fact that they have chosen to focus on PvE. They have put in a PvP component to appease the community to an extent, but it is not their focus. And maybe it will be at some point. but
I think it might be moving into their focus.
I remember
but,
having this
we shall
exact
see.
conversation when I was 14 in TBC. So let's.
Yeah. So basically, we're speculating now. We will definitely talk about it more once we've played some arenas. We've seen how it shakes out, but we are going to put a pin in it for now, and we're going to move on to.
Oh wait, I'm just kidding.
Discussion. So, in this week's discussion, as we do with every new guest, we're going to get to know Zerbraxi. So, first off, let's just get a little background about you and your WoW career. When did you start playing WoW, the original?
I started in. It was around the Blackwing Lair patch. I remember. I'm pretty sure Nefarian was out around the time I was like 30, 40-ish for level.
Okay.
I remember the head. And,
I thought you were saying like your age, like around the time I was like 30.
Wow,
30,
yeah.
40?
If I still look at this at 55, I'll be happy. I'll be very happy.
Nice.
Yeah, so I don't remember it exactly, but I remember the Blackwing Lair patch being like the first one that I ever saw on the launcher or being like really stoked for. And I played through all of that. Actually, I pretty much played through all the way through TBC and held off in Wrath. Wrath was the first time I ever took a break of my own volition, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was the Nax problem, as I was mentioning earlier, where we cleared. So, funny little story, real quick. My guild, our first walk into Nax in Wrath was to a 25-man Anubrakan pull. We were a 10-man raid at the time, waiting for people to cap. We didn't know it was 25, and we were just like, "Wow, this boss is like still decently tough," and we killed it in like 4 pulls. At a 10-man on a 25, and then went to Faire Lena, killed her, and went to Makesna, and we're finally like, "Oh, okay, this is actually getting really tough." And someone finally said, "Oh, I think this is 25."
Oh my
shoot.
gosh!
So to paint the picture of me playing like a hardcore raiding scene at that point, like because that's what I really went like kind of crazy with the game, where I was raiding probably close to 45 hours a week. It was like, what is there to do? So to paint my most picture, I guess, for my WoW career, I'm still here playing, and I've only taken like a few breaks, but it's mostly been ups and downs, hardcore, casual.
So you've played all the because Mel and I quit like at the start of Kata. So you've played all the retail patches and raided. Like, did you do any mythic raiding?
Yeah, the only time I ever stopped raiding, the only raids that I missed, one of which I'm actually very sad that I missed, was Throne of Thunder. I actually took time off from that. I didn't like Miss Pandaria a lot, but that raid is like the standout of that expansion, unfortunately, that I missed. That was pretty much it. Besides that, I mostly raided through the entirety. The only other thing I took a break on was Antorus, I think, and like the back half of BFA. But I would still play like casually if I wasn't hardcore raiding. But I kind of can't. So I can't play casually in the raid. If I'm raiding, my brain just switches. I can't. I take it way too seriously.
That was why Mel and I had to quit. That's why we're enjoying Classic now, is because we don't have to do it 5 hours a day, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Yeah,
that's actually, to be fair,
was intense.
It was a lot. And I actually discovered raiding on accident. Someone just invited me to some group, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." And I happened to see my raid frames were really big, and that was about all I knew. But I was like hooked. The fact of seeing like 20 frostbolts hit a mob was like, I'm sold. I'm doing this forever.
It was pretty epic, yeah.
Yeah, but it's really funny. However, though, I've said this before in like my own videos, but I really mean it. One of the things that I'm excited about going ahead with Classic, and I'm excited about for TBC, is that because I've done it all, I can actually turn that part of my brain off, and I can play hardcore if I would like, but I don't feel compelled to do it. I can do it whenever I want to, I can do all the weirdness that I never got to experience at the time. I'm pretty stoked for that. But yeah.
Nice,
you said you quit during at the launch of Kata?
We quit like during like the first tier, and then I never played again. I did get a boost to 80 in Miss of Pandaria, I believe it was, and then I saw that they took away talents, and I just logged out.
Yeah, actually, this is weird. I have that first launch, that first patch of Cataclysm. Like if we're not expansion wise, but snapshot, that might be my straight up favorite time ever playing the game. Is like that first bit of Cata.
The heroics were really, really fun.
They were brilliant. They were so brilliant. And that raid tier was straight up just. So that was actually like, I would say like quote unquote my peak. I have several top 30 and 40 world kills during that time. Straight up, honestly, that tier was way too hard. Way too hard for people. That was that was actually the shift. That was when Blizzard decided to make raid content like insanely difficult. Which might have been a bad call, maybe.
Yeah, well, it definitely like forced off all of my casual friends that would always come to the start of expansions. We've talked about that before, and that's why I don't like the first raids being really rough. I like those people that just want to play for the start to come back and get some time with them before we go super sweaty into the later parts of the expansion. But yeah.
Well, and I think having like the regular version and then the harder version is also difficult, right? Because if you're a more hardcore player, you don't want to play the regular version with everybody else, even if it's your friends, right? You're like, but this is just wasting my time because I could be getting better gear from this hardcore version.
Yeah,
and it's not gear. It's just like your own. You like that like clutch moment. You like having to operate on a pin, like every pull.
Yeah, and so for me and Cata, like all of my friends quit, everybody quit. Mel went to do her masters. I joined like the best guild on the server, and I did that for a couple weeks, and it was just like military. I didn't know anybody. I was just with a bunch of people, but lonely, and so I was like, I'm gonna go play this new MMO, Star Wars: The Old Republic, and then played that for a while and then didn't like that either. Just quit MMOs at that point. But this is not about me. This is about you. Did you ever play vanilla private servers?
It's so funny. This question, like 3 or 4 years ago, would be like insanely taboo, right? Because everyone was like, "Oh, you can't say it because Blizzard, like, we don't know what they're going to do."
Yeah, people keep saying that, but I mean, like
now it's clout.
Yeah,
you play private server.
Yeah, it's weird. Right? It's weird, right? I didn't play many. Only one I actually played was Nestarius, and that was mostly it. I think what was the one that came right after Nestarius?
Oh, it was
Elysium.
Elysium, yep.
Yeah. I had tried that, and I was by that point I was like, I just did this. This is kind of a bummer. And I knew it's anybody who ended up. I'm not even big into the private server scene, so I feel really bad for the people who were. When you've had that one moment where you're like, oh, the servers can just turn off. It's really hard to not build some apathy to like, well, my character could just be deleted tomorrow, so I can't be.
Yeah, it's got to be hard.
Yeah,
I'm the same way. Getting invested when it's not like the official too is sort of like
And I'm kind of like you were saying earlier about like RPGs being all about progression. As much as when I sometimes like have that snap of like I want to play hardcore and all I care about is the numbers. Actually, like 90% of my time playing the game is like the RPG side of it. I want to be engaged in like the actual growth of a character or the development of the world or the story of the game. Like that's the stuff I actually want to do more so overall, even though I adore raiding. So like when my character could just be deleted on a dime, all that investment in time and care that you've done, it's like, well, okay, it was fun. I'll go play something else. It was a good time. But that was it. That's the only one I ever really played.
Okay. So you did say your favorite time in WoW was the start of Cata, but what's your actual favorite expansion over the entirety of the expansion?
Weirdly enough, the Burning Crusade by about a mile. It was
nice.
It was not my first MMO, not even close, but there is something interesting about the PvE landscape of it. It's like the way I've compared Burning Crusade is like Ocarina of Time to the Zelda franchise. It comes in, it kind of redefines that series in a unique way, and then everything is built off of that. Like everything from Ocarina of Time for the Zelda franchise was basically trying to be Ocarina again in some way for quite a while until just recently. Burning Crusade, the way they've set up their PvE progression is so smooth that it's still the way they handle it to this very day. Like the PvE progression in vanilla is really cool because it's so scattered. but like the way it is in TBC is so understandable and digestible and streamlined in a good way, I would argue. But also just like the gear is so weird looking. It's like so bizarre and so flamboyant and like so fantasy looking. You kind of can't help but look at it and be like, why is that shaman literally made of thunder and lightning? Like I don't know what's going on here. And or like, why does that warrior have axes bigger than their body on their shoulder? It's so cool.
Why does this warlock have wings?
Right. Well, yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. As someone who played a warlock at TBC,
So good.
I had to re-roll. Oh, I did some pretty underhanded things to make sure that I was getting that helmet first. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh man, shoulders.
No, it was the helmet.
No, it's
wings, not the shoulders.
The wings are on the shoulders.
No, I'm pretty sure it's not. I think everyone expects it to be the shoulders, and it's the helmet.
I swear, because I had to get I got my rating up, and that's when I. Chat, can you help me out? Was it the shoulders or the helmet?
And the reason I remember it is because I had the season 3 shoulders at the time, and I was like, yo, sweet, got the wings. And I didn't get them. And then like 3 weeks later, we had killed Archimond. I got the helmet, and I finally had wings.
Wow. I didn't realize it was the helmet. Wow. Okay.
I think it's Archimond that drops the helmet. I forget which boss it is that drops the helmet, but I could be wrong. Might not be Archimond.
Yeah, see, I didn't do any PvE. I did all PvP. So I had the PvP version of it, the arena version. Huh. I never knew it was the head.
It's the one thing I don't like is I actually think the helmet looks really bad, but the wings are worth it. Like they are 100% worth it.
Okay. Wow. I must have like got them at the same time or like in real quick succession or something. That's so weird.
Maybe your memory is just as bad as mine, and you just hide it.
Yeah,
and it's Archimond.
That's a weird one.
I want to make sure everything was right, but yeah, it's the T6 helm from Archimond to get him.
Or
pay attention, everybody.
Yeah, or
My first ever
arena. Yeah, or the arena gear. It looked exactly the same, just a different color.
Just slightly bluer or whatever.
Yeah, like purplish or something.
Yeah, my first ever Archimond kill. Real quick funny story. We actually Archimond. I'm curious to see how this goes in classic TBC. Archimond, the way that fight works is if someone dies, it like compounds on itself. Like one death, if someone dies from, so if your death goes off, Archimond uses an ability, and if you die to that ability because it went off, he gets another charge of it and he can do it again. So as people die, if it starts a chain, it gets bad, really bad, out of hand, like, right? So the way we did it was we literally, because his enrage timer is like really huge, we literally just started dropping players who would die throughout the fight. So our first ever kill of Archimond was with 16 people. And it just took us a really long time, but people didn't die. That was the only thing that mattered, was people didn't die.
Wow.
So it can be done. It can be done.
Okay, well, I think I know the answer to this question, but I always have to ask it anyhow. Horde or Alliance?
You get bonus points for Alliance. Throwing that out there.
I'm actually going to be a sissy and be like, I genuinely, I don't care that much, honestly. I really don't.
Fair.
That's literally how I am and Mel is too. We're like,
okay,
we're kind of faction neutral.
Yeah,
I was until phase 2.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Well, yeah, that'll make anybody hate the enemy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Overall, I think that this isn't necessarily the case today, but for the longest time, I think the story of the Horde characters was definitely more interesting. Ironically, they felt more human and developed and flawed than a lot of the Alliance characters, which were like, I can do no wrong. But at the same time, Alliance has some pretty cool aesthetics, and while everybody hates them, I think gnomes are the best thing in the world. I think they're the funniest looking, goofiest things I've ever seen. And if I'm playing Alliance and my class can be a gnome, I will make it work. I don't care what I have to do.
But I can't cast that yet.
Right, yeah.
I can't cast that yet. Yeah, I love gnomes.
Oh, I didn't say I didn't mute the gnome. I didn't say that.
But that's the best part.
Oh man. All right, well, let's move on to some questions about content creation. So your videos and your thumbnails are all top notch. Like, that's my opinion, of course. But like, is this your first stab at content creation, or did you do stuff before this?
I've done things embarrassingly for a very long time, actually. I've been making stuff like on the internet for it's probably been about a decade. So my first ever video was really bad. It was a speed run of Trial of the Crusader or Trial of the Champion dungeon, which was a really bad one to do because that dungeon is like 40% RP. So you really can't actually speed that up very much.
You don't force the role playing.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I actually, not on this channel that I currently do things on, but yeah, I've been making things kind of on and off for quite a while about other MMOs. So like I did a lot on Guild Wars 2 when it came out, a lot on Rift actually when it first came out. And then I have kind of just moved that stuff over to Variety. And you mentioned things looking good. That was out of necessity, actually. In the Variety gaming sphere, if you want to even get clicked on by a single person, yeah, it's like the quality out over there is like insane. The people make good stuff, so you have to make it look somewhat good. I actually think my thumbnails suck, but I
Really?
think I'm glad that you think they're good. Yeah,
Dude, I think they're great. You're
part.
like, one of my favorites is you're wearing a beanie and you're holding all these different icons, and I mean, and you're like, I think they're freaking top notch. I think they're awesome.
Maybe it's just self-criticism, but yeah, every time I make a thumbnail, I'm like, this one sucks, but I don't have much time. I got to put it out. But yeah,
I mean,
so it's
I make
definitely
art thumbnails and they're awful, but you know,
it's got to just be like it's got to be the artist thing. Like you can never maybe look at your art and be like,
It's hearing your own
yeah.
voice. It's that
Oh,
sort of
that's the
thing.
worst.
Oh.
That's the worst.
Dude,
where you're
it's
just
the
like-
literal worst. Every time I edit the podcast, I want to just I just get depressed.
Yeah.
It just is like you're like, this can't be.
It's
that's not
really
what I
weird.
sound like.
Yeah. Oh, I sound worse than I thought. It's kind of that. It's actually really weird the amount of times I have to hear myself when I edit my videos. I've gotten to a point where I don't even notice I'm talking. I just like hear the information come in and I don't actually hear my voice.
You've
really
gotten
strange.
to a good place, yeah.
Yeah, because I hate my voice.
Yeah, I'll oftentimes edit at 1.5 speed just so I don't have to hear my actual voice because it's just cringe.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Did you have any actual training classes, like college non-credit stuff, to like learn how to video edit transitions, or is this all like self-taught?
Yeah, this all is completely self-taught. This started from making anime music videos in high school.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
That's where it
Hold
came
on.
from. That's where it came
Dude,
from. Like Linkin
wait.
Park on Naruto or something.
Hold
That's
on.
basically
Yeah,
what
Hold
it
on.
is.
Gotta be Linkin
Did you
Park.
wait, hold on. I loved those. The like DBZ Linkin Park videos. Like, did you make any of those? Because I watched
did.
the shit out of those.
Oh, I'm trying to remember which ones I did, but they were bad. They were really bad. And it was right around the time that YouTube was like kind of existing. It was like the 2005, 2006 era. And I didn't even like, I would upload them to YouTube and then upload them to FileFront because I thought YouTube was dumb. Because when you're a teenager, you're totally like,
Right.
yeah, what the new thing is clearly dumb.
Come on.
So yeah, so I would put it on FileFront so people had to go download it to watch it. But
Dude, I loved those.
Bingo mentioned it in chat, but I actually learned about Linkin Park through my older brothers watching Dragon Ball Z AMVs, and I just
bet.
thought that was like official. I was like, oh, like okay, especially because crawling in my skin for Linkin Park, right?
Mhm.
Someone made an AMV from Dragon Ball GT when there's like some sort of their thing underneath like Vegeta's skin crawling around, and I was like, this must just be a song they made for Dragon Ball Z, right? Like this fits so perfectly.
What'll really trip you out is, I'm not sure if you know this, but the fact that there are actual Disturbed songs on the official soundtracks for several Dragon Ball Z movies.
Oh, I don't know if I
Like
don't think I knew
straight
that.
up. Yeah, like I think it's like, I'm not going to go down all of them, but I think it's like 3 or 4 actual songs across their movies are used from Disturbed on Dragon Ball Z officially. So then it's like
They
really
know.
trippy because
They do
then
know.
it feels fake. You watch it, you're like, hold on a second, this isn't YouTube, right? Like I'm watching this.
Oh
But,
man, yeah, I loved Dragon Ball Z. That's okay. We've never talked about Dragon Ball Z on the show, I don't think.
But that's
I
legit.
know
That's
Bob
where it
loves it.
started.
That's awesome. That's a
It's
good
hype.
start,
All I know
though.
about
That's
it.
like a really good start into just like the basics of like timing and editing and just cutting and splicing, and it's a good way to start.
I legit didn't know, by the way, that was like an actual career I had, or like that was even a job, like editing videos. I never clicked for some reason. Like, duh, there's film. Like, what do you mean? But
Yeah.
for some reason, it seriously just never clicked. I also I have if anyone watches my videos, I have clearly a sick obsession with game design because I overthink way too many things. I didn't know that like it was an actual job as I'm playing video games. It just never clicked to be like, oh no, someone gets to sit down and be like, I'm going to make a cool level for someone to play. So when it came to like
Because
the editing thing, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's because of the time we grew up in, right? Where video games was a hobby. It wasn't a thing.
It was still like just on the edge of the taboo feeling. Like people still, if you played a lot of video games, people were like, are you literally
you're
just
a
wasting your
nerd.
way? Yeah. Or who's that axe murderer you're talking to online?
Right.
like-
You're gonna live in your mom's basement when you're older.
Yeah.
Like, get over it.
Huh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's so weird how there's different things that people don't know about in different places. Like I remember I was living in Los Angeles when Team America World Police came out, and I watched it there on opening night, and the entire crowd cracked up at the montage song. Well, when I had gotten there, I was working for a company, Weed Road Productions, out of the Warner Brothers lot. And I had to read a lot of scripts. And the first time I came across the word montage, I didn't know what it was. And montage, for anybody that might still not know, is just where there's a song going and a whole bunch of time passes and you see like them progressing something. Like Rocky had great montages. So in LA, the whole theater erupted because everybody reads scripts, so everybody knows what it is. The week later, I went back to Kansas City, and went with a bunch of friends. And the theater just wasn't even laughing during that time because they probably didn't know what a montage was. And so it's just crazy how different parts of the world, different parts of, we found out recently that in Europe they don't have ranch.
Get this:
it's weird.
all the food at the grocery store, someone has to grow
Right?
that on the ground.
Okay.
Really? It
No.
comes out of the dirt?
Yeah.
Oh.
We need to get Zerbraxi's opinion on this. They don't have ranch.
I don't understand how you guys didn't know they didn't have ranch in Europe. Ranch was invented on a ranch in like California like 40 years ago.
I think we need to-
Of course, Belgium doesn't have ranch dressing.
I'm not going to lie. I think we actually need to halt on the world peace endeavor right now and at least get Europe ranch before we get too far.
Well,
That's what
they
we're
do
never
have
gonna
it.
get
World peace without
Okay,
it. Oh,
they do have
They
it,
don't
but it's
understand.
called American dressing.
No. They don't really
That's-
have it though. But they don't really have it. Josh has told us.
Well, Josh
And
is
it's
in
looked.
Australia though. He has trouble finding American dressing. But yeah, sorry. Complete
hilarious.
tangents.
I'm
Complete
sorry,
tangents.
this blew my mind for literally a few weeks. I was just like, how could that not be?
All right, well, back on point. Unless you wanted to say something.
Random side thing I was
No.
saying. One thing I also didn't realize is that like America's one of the only countries that bleaches their eggs and like gets rid of the film, which is like really strange to me because I just figured that's what you do, right, with eggs. So when people said, "Oh no, if you just leave the eggs the way they are, they're better
both-
for you."
So no, both are fine. The science is out on this.
Oh,
For
there
the
is.
It's you can either wash it or you can not wash it. But what you shouldn't do is like a little bit of both or whatever.
Okay.
Like it's
So
like
it's commit.
like in Europe they just leave it on, and in America you leave it off. But I think they're both fine. But like you just can't like mess with it or whatever. I think it's weird to
I
leave
mean,
it
you
on.
don't
though.
eat the eggshell, so why does it matter?
Right. I think that's like the end goal, right? Like I
But you
think
don't?
it's actually a protective film.
I mean,
I got to reel us back
have you
in
ever
now.
had some
gotta reel us back
eggshell
in.
your eggs? Yeah.
Yeah, all I was gonna say is I know we have long podcasts, but we're 2.5 hours in talking about Hidden Valley Ranch again.
Yeah,
This is
reeling
a
us
big
back
deal.
in.
Talking about
Sorry,
ranch.
This is a
sorry.
big deal.
Reeling us back in. So, what made you decide to make your, WoW Classic TBC channel? What made you decide to jump into this specific realm?
Oof, mostly just I have a weird sick obsession with talking about video games, and I was playing Classic, and there were a lot of things about Classic that they're just I don't want to say there weren't videos on, but the style of content I wanted just wasn't there. Like I like the deeper dives, and there are some people who kind of tread that like top layer. So like you might have someone like I'm just gonna pull like random people, but like you might have someone like Willie like address or mention borrowed power in a video and like a thought on it, but then there's me who's like, I have to make a whole video on borrowed power and why it works or doesn't work. Like I have to rip this apart and extrapolate it. So it was mostly just I have played WoW for so long and I was playing Classic again. Clearly, that desire for this game isn't going away anytime soon. So I might as well take a lot of the time that I was spending making variety content and instead turn it into WoW content because I'm already playing the game. That's not going to change at that point. So I pretty much just took kind of what I was doing and moved it over, and it did well enough. For me, it was like really well. To be fair, it's still really strange, to be honest. People are like, "Hey, I like your video," and I'm like, "Why?" I'm just like a random person. You don't know me.
So you were this is literally what happened to me. You were consuming content. You were doing other content, but you were like, I just want to do my own. I want to get my word out there, and so you decided to jump over. It's literally what I did. I was doing an Overwatch League podcast. It was pretty successful, but nowhere near this. And so, I mean, it was just like you got to do what you love, and if you're playing the game a ton, why not do it there? So that's actually really cool. All right, so
like arguing with Bob. That's the only reason.
And I love it too.
I do it all day, every day, but I still like to go on record doing it as well. I feel like
I want some recorded arguments where the audience can decide the winner. This is blood sports.
So then where do you get the ideas for your different, because you do a lot of great guides and like you do a lot of different stuff, like you'll do stuff about what items are good here, and what changes here. Like, where do you get the ideas for your actual videos?
It comes probably mostly from two different places. Definitely, one is just if a thought randomly comes into my brain. I use Trello to keep track of my video ideas. I just literally will pull up my phone and I type it in a Trello card, and then throw it. Like, I'll leave it and I won't look at it, and I just hope. If I look back on it in like 2 days and go, oh yeah, I still would like to make that, then I'll keep it and I'll make it eventually. But sometimes it really is just like a random thought in the moment, or I'll read something online and someone will be like, oh, I wonder like what's good in tier 5. And I was like, oh, it's interesting. I could maybe something about that. So there's either just the random thought that comes out of nowhere that I would like to talk about this for some reason. Like jewel crafting gets introduced to the game. I don't want to talk about a jewel crafting guide because there's plenty of them, but I want to talk about why this works. But then there's like, so then the other way I get my ideas is definitely I'll watch a video and this sounds like really arrogant. I'll watch a video and not like it and then not be able to find alternatives. So I think in some way I can like provide additional value out into the world.
Definitely. By
either making something better or more clear or more concise or even just more interesting in some way. And it's never to like belittle people. We all have our different skills. And that might just be that. So for example, the Druid flight form guide that I had ended up doing was not a plan. It was a bunch of people in my comments were asking if the flight form was coming out and how to get it. And I looked up guides on how to get it. And at least from like an initial YouTube search, they were like really either super quick to the point where it was like, you should have given me a notepad file and I could have gone them down. Or just like, in general, if I can provide something better or more interesting or even just different, then I will try to tackle it if it's something that I'm interested in. That's
Can I
pretty
ask
much
a question real fast? Yeah. What is Trello?
Oh, so Trello is like I'm not sure if you know like Monday.com or Jira or anything like that. But
we
Trello
literally
is like,
use it for mash those buttons. The network we're on. That's where.
Really?
Mel just doesn't know.
Oh, so it's like a project management tool essentially. So you can like make a bunch of cards and ideas and tie documents to it. It's strictly for me. I use a really bare bones free version of it that just is there to organize ideas. But it's enough to keep me like focused and. Sometimes you just have a really good idea. The worst feeling in the world. You have a great idea. You're like, all right, I'll come back to that. And an hour later, it's gone, and you completely forget it. You don't remember what you were talking about, and you know it was like a gem. So that's why I have it on my phone, so I can just really quick.
Dude, I like have a voice voice recording thing on my watch, like voice notes or something. I just click it and I just say it real quick so I can come back to it later because of that exact reason. Because I'm just like,
it's a horrible feeling.
Yeah, and you always know that you had a thought too. You're like, oh, I had something really good last night. What the heck was it?
Oh, it's
awesome.
like Planner. It's like Planner on Microsoft Office. It
Fundamentally,
looks very similar.
Yeah, fundamentally, yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, you do have really concise videos. I think one of my favorite parts is like just the little bit of humor that you add in that so many people don't do, and it's freaking awesome. Like I remember the first video that because your viewers have definitely told you don't advertise as much as you could. That's why I was like, hey, we should have you on the pod because like that's a great way to do it. But you said it was about Viscidus. You were talking about the scarab brooch, and you were like, "Well, that means you have to do Viscidus," and then you did the close up on your face. You did that sucks, and you just went back on, and it just adds something to the video that really makes it fun. Where a lot of them are just like, "This is this, this is this, this is this." And it just really sparks it up for me. So, like, what made you decide to do the humor part?
Again, it was actually just carrying it over from what I had done in Variety. So I had a series that kind of on and off called Divine Design about game design. Or like, I'll literally, this is how bad it is. Like when I say I'm obsessed about games, by the way, this is for real. I have a whole video about why Baby Mario crying in Yoshi's Island is actually a really good design choice. Like that's how sometimes granular I'll get. But the thing is, in order to get it in that scene, you gotta have like a little extra something. And my humor is like really bad and dry, but like that, I'm not good at writing like a long joke. But I can at least be like, no one likes Viscidus half the time. Let's just acknowledge it. So it's mostly just trying to poke fun. Or honestly, it's just like, you got to have fun with it. That's really my thing.
Yeah.
I do genuinely try. It's like really cliche, but I try to make something I would enjoy watching. And something that like specifically watching it would be interesting, specifically rather than reading it in a guide or just listening to it. For at least for the YouTube format, I try to add some little kick. Humor just happens to be that. It's. I don't do a lot of it, but I do enough to try to keep the pace going.
Cool. All right. Well, so plans for TBC content. Like, what are your plans?
Oh goodness. Oh boy. Outside a lot. I'm not sure.
Just share your Trello. Just share.
Yeah, right. I'll just screenshot it. Funny enough, I have showed it on stream before, and people were like, "You shouldn't do that." And I was like, whatever. It's too late. It happened.
Yeah, it's out there. It's on the internet.
Yep. It's too late. The really realistically, it's to just make as much as I possibly can, and I'm trying to not make things that people already make that are good. Like if someone already made a great video and I genuinely don't think I can add value to it, I won't do it on that topic. I'll do something else. But like right now,
well, and you've also done something that a lot of YouTubers don't do. It's something we do on the pod. We shout people out. You have shouted out other content creators on your videos, and I love that. I'd like to do it as much as possible, but so many don't. So that's something I noticed about you too.
So if anything, like one of the reasons why I like gaming as a whole and MMOs very much specifically is like that social interaction and that like community environment. And even if it's not as like, as long as even if it's as cliche as it sounds like when Classic was coming out, where people were like preaching community, it's like, it really is the most fun. Like doing things with people and hanging out with people and talking about your experiences with other people is fun. I don't gain or lose anything by referencing another creator if they did something really good. All I get personally out of it is this person did something really cool and it's directly inspiring this conversation. Just like I would in an essay for college, I would reference them because they deserve credit for that work.
Yep.
And that's really what it is. And to be fair, sometimes if I'm not big enough to really gain this, but if they were smaller than me, I would even be more willing to happily do it, because if they're good enough to where I would love to use them as a reference in my material, I want them to get the credit for it even more so. So yeah, it's just it's kind of weird that people don't. I don't know if it's just out of accident or if people are conscious about it. But I consciously go out of my way.
I think people think that it's actually going to take viewers and stuff
Like a
away from
competitor.
their content. But my thought process has always been, if it does, then it does, because their content's better than mine. So it's like,
Yeah,
I think a lot of
exactly.
people too. I think there are people who don't consume a lot of classic WoW content as well too. Even content creators are not consuming a lot of other content creators unless like you already know them, and like a lot of the creators already have this information. They're not necessarily looking to videos for these guides. They might already know this info. They might get it from a Discord server or something. They might not need to reach for content, which happens as well too.
Yeah, one of the big things that I do want to do in future that I would love to see more of in kind of the classic WoW space in general is specifically for like streams. I would love to embrace actual like community play a lot more, and turn it into like a show. I want to do something. I'm not entirely sure what it is yet. Like I talk about on my stream lately where my plan is to like I want to bring people through the attunement, like start to finish, like just random folk who've never done it or never got to experience it and just need like a party to do it. That's like a very small, low level version of that. That's like a very foundational piece. But I love the community events that people get to do that they do occasionally happen for sure. But if anyone remembers content creation in like the earlier WoW scene, like the TBC Wrath era, it's like, it was like there was like a community event happening like every weekend, because that was just like what you did. Whereas now you can do it way more solo. But I don't want to lose that, so to speak.
yeah, cool. All right. Well, what about your plans for play? Like, are you in a guild? Are you gonna join a guild? Are you gonna raid? Are you gonna PvP? What are your plans for actual playing the game?
I trash talked arena earlier. I do want to make it clear that I am going out of my way to give it its fair shake this time around. Genuinely, I want to try it. I want to just consume it for what it is, not what it could be or not what other games have done. It's gonna be tough, but I need to do it.
It's gonna be so much tougher than back in the day, dude.
Yeah, I know. As far as like my play, I'm actually in a guild right now with some people from my stream and who watch my videos. They made a startup guild to just kind of casually play and like in raid. I was like, yo, that sounds like perfect. That's exactly what I was saying earlier about the community play. Like, I would love to join a guild that's like a bunch of either startup people who've never played before or never got to see all the content, and I can be there to even just experience it with them for their first time, so to speak. And I think that could be a lot of fun. So I don't really have like a lot of hard play ideas. I'm kind of winging it. Like I said earlier, it's like I've beaten the game before. So I'm just here to have a grand old time and do weird things that I didn't do before. And something like this, like playing super casually to bring people up, is like a really fun way for me to kind of, I guess, give back to the community in the game that like I played. That sounds so lame. Give back to the community. No one says that and means it.
What the community is really missing, I don't know if people remember this, but TBC was really when the parody songs were popping. You know, you had Nim,
dude, we need those back.
Fireball and MAGE, like all these things are like really.
Like Amish Paradise is the one that I remember from way back in the day when he's walking through Skullomance. Like those were great.
I actually used to play with in the guild Drow. I used to play with the Rob Moran, the guy who made Jimmy the World of Warcraft story, and I still follow him lately. He's openly said he's making another World of Warcraft story video.
Oh, see, that's what we need. We need this like the nostalgia should just come from the game. I want some modernized nostalgia like that. That like, I mean, we linked that in our Discord like a week ago. Like that has lived so long. I still remember. Was it Thoughtbot? Was it Wowhead where he's disqualified for making he's disqualified from the contest he made it for because of the Clue reference? Professor Plum.
It was a Blizzard. It was a Blizzard. Yeah, it was a Blizzard tournament, but he used Thoughtbot and they didn't want it there.
God, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. So, yeah, like all that stuff was just so like
epic fail.
It was kind of silly back. People were crazy back then with like copyright stuff. Like, you mentioned the name of an artist. Get out of here.
there's also like the level of passion was different. If we were to talk about like big creators at the time, like then like probably the biggest content creator for WoW was Total Biscuit with his podcast Blue Please, and like the passion behind that man about the game. It's like sometimes people tell me that like, oh, you have a lot of energy in your videos. It's like, well, yeah, it's one of my favorite games of all time. Like, how do I not get pumped? You know what I mean? Like, I can't.
For sure.
I
mean,
can't
that's
just be.
Bob says it sometimes. We had a podcast that was supposed to be every other week for an hour, and now we just do like consistent 2.5 hour weekly podcasts.
Technically, what I signed up for, just so you know.
And like
Mentioned it
Total
before.
Biscuit was one of my favorites. But actually, I got okay. Do you remember the podcast? Oh God, what? Oh my gosh, It was
Instance?
WoW Radio?
no Starman did it. World of Warcast.
World Warcast, yeah.
I actually got to meet him the other day, and I was in chat with Josh from Countdown to Classic, and he comes in and he's talking, and I'm like, I know this dude's voice, and I realized, oh my God, this is the dude that I listened to way back. Sorry, we're getting nostalgia
awesome.
and everything in here now. Like, we should probably go ahead and start wrapping up.
Yes.
Yeah, I that
I
news
rant
piece,
all the time.
got a little news.
Oh yes. Yip has some breaking news.
It's not breaking at all. We just didn't talk about it in the news section.
Oh, okay.
So all the items, there's actually another rework. I couldn't find like a compendium of these item changes, but a lot of items in pre-patch are reworked.
Oh, a
to
ton,
an
yeah.
insane extent. I'm just gonna give one example. This is gonna fall under Yip's tips. A lot of add-ons broken, but you can go to like WoW interface and download properly working TBC add-ons like Atlas loot and stuff like that. Get the one that's for patch 2.5.1 and it'll work, and you can look through this gear. So you can look at like WoW interface for that sort of thing. But just as an example that blew my mind, and I knew that some stats changed, but the Chill Steel Girdle from Warder Stilgis he's in the vault in BRD. The Chill Steel Girdle used to be 20 int, 7 spirit, 10 frost resist mail belt. Just kind of whatever frost resist mail belt. Now it's a mail belt with 44 plus healing on it with 7 in form MP5. So now there's this actually really solid belt going into TBC that a fresh shaman can be wearing, and you're going to be like good to go. Like, you don't need to go find this belt anywhere else. You don't need a raid belt. 44 plus healing with an MP5 on it is sitting in BRD for a level 52, a level 52 belt with 44 healing. So take a look through if you're a boosted character, or if you're leveling a shaman now or a paladin now. Take a look through again, get the new Atlas loot, or look at like a TBC database for these items to see the updated items, because I haven't really found a compendium anywhere where it has all these changes.
There is a ton of changes. I've seen a ton of YouTube videos. I think WoW Curious, or Classic WoW Curious, I think is the channel. He's been doing a ton of those, and you wouldn't believe the changes that these, like lots of greens are changing to blues too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these item changes are literally from RFC to 60 dungeons. Like, yeah, they're pretty big. If you're
things that happened before.
Yeah, these changed in TBC, but they come with the pre-patch right now. Yeah. So like if you're a mage or a warlock now, like leveling those robes of Argal were really good. Now they're like god tier, like straight up, because now they have like 14 spell power or something on them too.
Well, yeah, there's spell power. There's also low-level spell hit on everything. Like the lavishly jeweled ring out of Dead Mines has spell hit on it at like level 10. It's absolutely insane. So definitely something worthwhile checking out, especially now that GM gear isn't really going to be free to go get when you're doing some PvP. It's worthwhile to go see where you're. If you look up Abyssless, it's just not going to have these items on it. Is really what I'm getting at. You won't find these item reworks.
Do your dungeons, kids.
Do them. All right. Do we have an add-on of the week?
Absolutely not, unless you want to go download Atlas 2.5.1. All my add-ons are still broken, so
that was the add-on of the week.
All right. Well, yeah, the add-ons are pretty broken right now, so we're going to skip add-on of the week. We've had quite a long episode. Anyhow, we're going to move into closing the show out. I would like to encourage everyone to come give us a follow on Twitter at WC Reloaded. We need the follows. please come follow us. If you want to send us anything longer format, you can send emails to wcrpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to ever catch us live, you can do so normally Friday nights at twitch.tv/mashthose-buttons. Follow us on Twitter to know when we go live. If you'd like to join the Discord and interact with the hosts or any hosts on the Mash Those Buttons network, you can go to mash.gg/discord. Ratings and reviews, you guys continue to kill it. We thank you so much. That's why we read them at the top of the show. We love you guys. Thank you for helping us get seen across all, Google, Bing searches, everything. You guys are awesome. Keep them coming. Thank you so much. All right. Yip, where can we find you?
Hi, you can find me on YouTube, youtube.com/cognitivepit, or on Twitter @cognitivepit, and you can tell me about how wrong I am about the PvP gear.
Awesome. Topical. And Mel, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter @MelOverwatch, and you can tell me how much you hate Yip and how wrong he was about the PvP gear. Yeah, that's about it. Or come on White Mane.
Tell me I'm wrong there.
Say hello, Mel Arena. I disagree with Yip, and I'll instant invite you to the guild.
Nice. And
I don't have that power, but
Zerbraxi, plug it all. You just never plug yourself, so this is the time to do it. Make sure everybody knows exactly where to find you.
Yeah, I suck at marketing. That's definitely for sure. And my community tells me all the time. So you can follow me over on YouTube, which is at youtube.com/Zerbraxi Gaming. That's where all of the WoW content lives. And if you're really desperate for kind of semi-old variety content, it's just Zerbraxi. But that's not the cool one. Also on Twitter as well, at Zerbraxi, where I kind of just randomly spout anything gaming or WoW related. It just kind of comes off the cuff, and sometimes it's a really bad take, but that's what it comes with. And also then on Twitch at twitch.tv/Zerbraxi, where lately, I mentioned this in my videos, but I mean it, chat genuinely rules my life. They make me do things like flip my keyboard upside down.
It is pretty cool.
Yesterday, I had a point where I couldn't use spells. I couldn't walk forward. I couldn't use my keyboard, and I had to flip my mouse upside down to try to play for a solid 10 minutes. That's how many points people were trying to get me to mess with. So if you want to watch a man suffer, I'm trying to play WoW, and people wonder why I'm not 60 on my new shaman yet.
Oh, that's awesome. And
give them too much power.
I know, it's bad.
For anybody wondering how that's spelled, that's Zerbraxi. If you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. I don't really know a whole lot about Twitter, but I've had a lot of follows as of recent. I don't know if it's the TBC hype or what, but just letting you know, if you interact with me on Twitter on a semi-regular basis and you're not trolling me, I'm gonna give you a follow back regardless of your followers. So that's how I kind of see it. I don't know what I'm supposed to do on Twitter, but that's what I'm doing.
Follow right here. Advertise on the podcast.
No. Follow for interact. All right,
okay,
but
you're even asking for less.
I will caveat that I am bad at Twitter, but I love you for following me. I'll try to do better.
Cool. And if you want to check me out on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/blazingbob. And there's no schedule. I just stream what I stream. I would have streamed the last 2 days, but it was an ugly sight of me being sleep deprived and drinking too much. So nobody wanted to see that. But definitely stop by and hang out.
Want to see that.
All right, guys, we're out of here. It was a great show. Thank you so much, Zerbraxi, for coming on. You had a great time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it was great to meet you, and I just can't wait for more.
Well, thank you. Honestly, everyone, thank you. This was a lot of fun. I love these types of formats, so where I can just be a little more off the cuff. But this was cool. I had a great time. Thank you. I also love the PvP argument. That was actually probably my favorite part, straight up, to be honest.
Listen, when people are passionate, the heated conversations are fun. The argument, they're fun. They're just as fun.
Leave it to Yip and I.
No, I mean it. Unironically, I think that's the cool stuff.
Yeah,
people who are really passionate.
All right. Well, goodbye, everybody, and
Bye.
It's too soon.
Bye.
A little soon. Bob's
Oh,
saying
God.
and.
All right.
Sorry, Bob's like and, and I'm like bye.
Done. We're done. We're done.
All right.